Awesome. Thanks, Mark. So 6.0 reconvene open session, procedural business 5:30, 6.1 call to order. The Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening the open session at 5:37 p.m. 6.2 roll call. Trustees identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish quorum. Cindy Gardner, trustee area 3.
Dr. William Mellinger, trustee area 1. Scott Kraft, trustee area 4.
Jordan Zarate, trustee area 5, Running Springs, Overlake, Green Valley.
Dana Ridley, trustee area 2. And for the record, Jordan Zarate entered the meeting at 4:05 p.m. in closed session. 6.3 Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge Kim because she loves public speaking. Kimberly Schatz.
Yes, again. Yes, everybody ready? Again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you're such a rock star. Thank you, Kim. 7.0 closed session report. 7.1 announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. Public employee discipline dismissal released pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. In closed session, the board took action to release the following administrative employees from the indicated positions and reassign them to teaching or other certificated positions pursuant to Education Section 44951, effective at the end of the 2025-2026 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. Employee number current position 2026-2027, position 3078 to elementary teacher position. The roll call vote was as follows. The ayes, Jordana Ridley, Jordan Zarate, Scott Kraft, Dr. William Mellinger, Cindy Gardner. 0 no's, 0 abstentions. Oh, it's stipulated expression. And then we have the stipulated expulsion. The board voted unanimously to approve the stipulated expulsion for student number 22515. Moving on to public testimony, 8.0, public testimony, 8.1, public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on future agendas. No person is granted any privilege by the governing board to make statements which may be considered defamatory or otherwise actionable by other persons, including district officers and employees. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Rim of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure that rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure BP/AR 1312.1 has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Decorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. 8.2, public comments. We do have sheets, got them right here. So first we have Alicia Wilson representing herself. Topic, teacher morale. And just make sure the little red thing is on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
thank you, because I apparently teachers know instructions better than.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having me tonight and having this opportunity to speak to you guys. I wanted to talk to you guys about teacher morale right now. Teachers are feeling overwhelmed, under-supported, and not valued. Some of the issues teachers face are large class sizes, disruptive behavior on a large scale, and feeling that the district does not collaborate when planning PD. To give you an idea of what we're facing every day, I'll give you my scenario because that's what I know. I have 29 fifth grade students, 7 with IEPs, 3 reclassified ELs, which is amazing, and 9 behavior concerns. I have students reading from a 2.6 reading level, 2nd grade 6th month, all the way through 12th grade 9th month, that I have to differentiate my instruction for every day. Teachers go above and beyond daily. I do not know one teacher that feels they can start and end work at contractual time and be successful to deliver quality instruction to their class. Most teachers spend at least 1 extra hour a day planning, prepping, copying, making parent phone calls, documenting. In addition, we have adjunct duties that go beyond our workday. Some have additional stipends and most do not. This year, my adjunct duties are grade level leadership, calendar committee, and Read Across America coordinator at LE. The teachers here want to succeed and they want their students to succeed. We need more counselors at our schools. We need smaller class size ratios, consequences for poor student behavior. We need to be a partner when the district is looking to purchase new programs and what professional development would be helpful to our specific needs. Teachers differentiate for students every day, and the district needs to differentiate for our staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alicia. You can stay right there because we're going to number 2 comment. Alicia Wilson representing South. The topic is technology in the classroom and beyond.
Great. Good evening, board members. I know tonight the district's AI policy will be discussed. I feel like it's a good opportunity to talk about technology within the classroom and beyond. I've been teaching in our district for over 20 years, and I have seen the shift in technology in both settings, at home and school. When I first started teaching, every elementary school site had 1 computer lab and 1 computer tech. Classes would go to the computer lab once a week for 40 minutes or so, and students would learn how to write essays in a Word document. I would teach my students technology skills, how to format that document, how to save, spell check, how to print a file, how to organize files. And then there was a shift to 2 labs, creating double the time and access for students to access technology. We had tech programs like Lexia, IXL, always promising to fill gaps in learning or accelerate learning. Then we got laptop carts, usually 1 per grade level. We made schedules so all students had daily computer time. Then every classroom got a Chromebook cart, giving students access throughout the day to technology. And finally, now our district has secured 1 to 2. So each student has access to 2 devices, 1 at school and 1 at home, from 3rd grade through high school for any family that would like it. While I know the thought behind this was to give access to students to help their academic achievement, I'm not sure that that is the message parents are getting. Many families see it as their children should use it all the time in whatever way they want to. My concern is that as educators, we know that developmentally, children should limit their screen time to 2 hours per day. Children today are exceeding this limit exponentially. As educators and experts in our field, we need to be leaders of our community. We need to advocate for the safety of our students. Lately, there have been multiple studies about the effects of technology on children. Dr. Harvath, a neuroscientist with a focus on human learning, has found that today's kids, for the first time ever, are less cognitively capable than their parents were at the same age. From his research in 2010, that was a pivotal year. He found a correlation between cognitive development and the tools schools were using to drive learning. Specifically ed tech programs touting huge gains in academic success if used. He found that across 80 countries, once digital tech was adopted in schools, performance in schools goes down significantly. Dr. Haddett, a social psychologist, wrote The Anxious Generation. In his book, he researches a phone-based childhood versus a play-based childhood. His research was about the epidemic of teen mental illness that hit many countries at the same time. He attributes this to smartphones and social media. He has since stated that other alarming side effects of technology.
One sentence
Yes.
to wrap up. What is, that awesome point you want us to leave?
I'm just hoping that we can refocus our focus and go back to more pencil paper kinds of things and less screen time within the school day.
Perfect. That was perfect, Alicia. That's what you want to leave us with. So with that, we have number 8.3, Grant Teachers Association, RTA representative. Nick Nicholas.
Hey, as Cindy said, I'm Nick, RTA president. RTA would like to express our appreciation for the early tell incentive for retiring teachers who have spent decades of their lives investing in the future of RIM students and schools. That is one of the many wonderful things about RIM, all the people who invest in our students. We purchase items to create welcoming and warm spaces, such as posters, plants, books, smelly soaps, and even additional lighting. We purchase items for incentive and motivation, such as stickers, small prizes, supplemental learning materials, colorful pins, and in the case of theater students, pizza. We purchase items for care, such as water bottles, granola bars, hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, and the more expensive soft facial tissue. RIM employees also invest in our students by giving up our time. We spend time before and after contracted hours, preparing classrooms and lessons, communicating with parents, answering emails, updating gradebooks, providing productive feedback on assignments, researching strategies for engagement, modifying and recalculating lessons, and collaborating with colleagues. At this time of year, many of us are writing letters of recommendation. We coach, mentor, advise for clubs, chaperone field trips, attend games and performances, and often open up our classrooms at lunch so that students have a place to be. Our staff also invests in our students by taking on the emotional labor of caring for children. Often those open doors are at the expense of us being able to take a breath and quiet our minds. We mediate disagreements and help repair friendships. We check in, encourage, and take an interest. We have incredibly difficult and heartbreaking conversations with our students that we take home with us, that stay with us. And even when we ourselves are dealing with outside tragedies and hurt, we show up, greeting our students with a smile and setting our own personal issues aside for them. Our school psychologists, speech language pathologists, counselors, nurses, teachers, and support staff believe in our students. We believe in this district and we invest in its future every day. We are eager to see how you will invest in our schools, our staff, and our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Next, CSEA speaker, Suzanne, or anyone from CSEA? I don't see anybody. All right, Then we're moving on to 9.0 reports and presentation. 9.1 student representative report, Molly Gabrath from Rim of the World High School.
Yay, yay. It gets tossed. Okay. Our March school reports. We're gonna,
You're gonna click and hope it comes.
there we go. We're gonna start with our elementary schools. So I left my computer at home. I'm on my phone today. It looks a little less professional. VOE is introducing a new approach to Saturday school to better support our families. We will host our regularly scheduled session on Saturday, March 14th. And we are also piloting an evening Saturday school opportunity on March 28th from 3 to 7 p.m. This evening session is designed with families in mind, giving them an opportunity for a night out while students receive additional academic support and enrichment. How nice! Additionally, our VOE Peacekeepers Student Leadership Group recently welcomed a special guest speaker, Mike Onco, director of Thousand Pines Camp. During the visit, students participated in discussions and activities focused on team building, leadership, and communicating with others in respectful, unbiased ways. Experiences like this continue to support VOE's commitment to building a positive school culture and helping students develop important social and leadership skills. LAE is wrapping up LPAC testing, and our students did a great job trying their absolute best to do their best work. 3rd and 5th grade are working on interim assessment blocks to prepare for the CASP assessment. PTA held a successful book fair during our Read Across America week, and we will be celebrating our stellar readers later this month with trophies and medals. CHE held a parent engagement night for our EL families. It included dinner and a discussion about our programs. It also provided an opportunity for parents to get more information about LPAC testing. We had a great turnout, and our families have requested a second evening where they can practice logging in to get more information about LPAC testing. CHE is hosting our March Madness Attendance Challenge. We have made it to the second round of eight classes competing to host the championship pizza party back to their classroom. We are also excited to participate in Miss Slater's March art installation featuring the book The Dot. We are excited to display this mural later this month. Got a lot of fun stuff going on in our elementary schools. Okay, over at MPH. Our guiding coalition team has finalized and adopted MPH's mission and vision, which we recently presented to staff during our last week's staff meeting. We are proud of the thoughtful collaboration and dedication that went into developing statements that truly reflect who we are in the school, what we value, and why MPH exists to serve our students. We are excited to share that the MPH band will be participating in an upcoming competition at Redlands High School. Under the leadership of Ms. Ford, our students continue to demonstrate that MPH musicians are remarkable. Students are currently participating in our district common assessments, an important opportunity to monitor progress and collect data. On March 18th, selected 6th grade students will participate in the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or the NAEP. We are confident they will do an excellent job representing MPH. Next week, MPH will celebrate Spring Spirit Week. Our leadership class helped plan fun ways for students to show their school spirit, starting with Minion Day Monday. Last but not least, MPH PTA hosts Science Night on Wednesday, March 25th from 5 to 7:30 in the MPH cafetorium. Oh, cafetorium.
I like that one.
Science Night in the cafetorium. I would love to go. Maybe I will, who knows? Mountain High School. At our latest MHS Q5 Real Talk session, we drove into the numbers to see just how many credits our students have racked up since returning in January. And let's just say those numbers are looking good. First period attendance is up thanks to our new coffee/tea bar, Mr. King. Hey, we have to get up early too. Because who doesn't want a little decaffeination before class? And our group support teams are on a mission to help every Eagle soar higher toward graduation. Thanks to Prop 26, we're bringing in the legendary mural artist Wes Albraca, the creative genius behind the RHS and MHS murals. Fun. We all love. He'll be teaming up with students to start a brand new MHS alumni mural that kicks off with the class of 2026. MHS is getting ready to literally leave their mark in June. How exciting! Solution Tree is rolling in next week to help us wrap up our essential standards mapping. We're breaking down big goals, building learning trackers, and making sure our tests actually show what our students know in English and math, from earning credits to showing off their essential skill mastery. RBA! March Madness isn't just for basketball. RBA is seeing a slam dunk in enrollment with 24 new transfers in the first 12 days of March. Most new students are landing in grades 6 through 11, making our halls busier than ever. Thanks to Prop 28 increased funds, we're bringing also in Wes Albarca, the mural artist. All students can jump in and show off their creative side. No art skills required, just enthusiasm. How fun! We're getting so many new murals. Solution Tree is coming in next week to help us finish mapping out what students need to learn and how we'll track their progress. Teaming up with MHS for extra brain power. We're all focused on making sure everyone can master the essentials in English and math with cool trackers and new ways to show what you know. St. Patty's Day mixer on next Tuesday on campus is going to be a blast with a leprechaun scavenger hunt, a photo booth, and cookie decorating. So don't forget to wear green unless you like pinches. Ooh, do adults still pinch people?
No comment.
Esports is leveling up fast now with 14 students on the team and counting. Shout out to the families who keep up fueled with awesome snacks and pizza. May your controllers never run out of batteries. How poetic. We're in high school. We went on, I didn't go, but the Avid kids went on the Avid field trip. 25 students across 15 universities in 1 week. Such a cool program. So some kids get to go see some colleges and narrow it down a little bit. Shred team made it to state race in Tahoe, and snowboard team won the division. Yay, Shred! Kindness, we had a kindness party in the library celebrating student kindness. It was really cool. Different students were able to elect other students who had been kind to them, and they wrote little letters. And if you were going to the kind party, you got to receive the letters, and it was lovely. I wasn't there because I wasn't kind, but I heard it was lovely. We had our college application celebration. The RHS band marched through hallways, followed by students who applied to universities, ending with a delicious luncheon. I was invited to that because I did apply to college. And that was really great. It was a little community moment. Learning round. Teachers followed students groups to observe learning practice and data collection to continue. Site-wide grade check today for every single student, followed by third quarter conclusion and deadline on March 20th. Yes, we all filled out little papers so we could look at our grades. And I think it actually is helpful to kind of have your grades out on paper and see what you're missing and what you can fix. Spring sports are underway, including a King of the Mountain baseball game against Big Bear. Our new athletic director, Daniel Rincon, has begun meeting with coaches, families, booster, and leaning into all the work our athletics demands. Let's see. LPAC testing has almost concluded. We're almost there. Teachers attended several different conferences ranging from EL program, PLC team building, students activities, and upcoming science. Lunar New Year was celebrated, and the leadership helped out by passing out fortunes to everyone in the school, and they also hung up some lanterns around the hallway, so that was really lovely. And then that's it from me. Well, that was all the school sites. We'll wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. I love the running commentary. It makes it so lively and personal. Thank you. 9.2 governing board members. We'll start with Jordana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Don't have much to say, but there's a few things that I do want to report on. For starters, on Tuesday, enjoyed spending time at VOE, helping out in classroom and spending some time with students doing math. So I was in my happy place. And just love being with the students there. It's a really, the teachers, the staff work so hard to be able to make it a place where students can thrive. And I know that's happening at every campus. I really think we do have something incredibly special on this mountain, and spending time with the students just reinforces that. Being able to do the same thing on Thursday, Dr. Seviano was kind enough to allow a couple of us board members to accompany with him to go to MPH. And first thing I was greeted by at MPH, along with the staff, was first lunch was just wrapping up in the cafetorium, and students were leaving, and I was blown away by how clean it was in there. This is right after lunch, and the culture that's been established there of one of personal responsibility and care and respect. Again, it's the effort of all of the staff there, and I'm sure it also is fed in by the elementary schools. But the fact that it was so incredibly clean, trash was not everywhere. My experience back in the high school back in the day was certainly the opposite. And I don't know what's happening at the high school now after lunch, but to see that time and time again after lunches at MPH was pretty darn awesome. And then spending the day too, got to visit sixth grade classrooms, and the enthusiasm of we have several new teachers in the sixth grade team, and the energy, enthusiasm, and spark and love that they're bringing to the classroom was fantastic. Seeing pretty much every single student engaged in the lessons that were going on, and it was with a lot of effort. It's a happy place. It's a safe place. Being able to see students thriving in that environment was really wonderful. We also went to see band, and I have to believe it was advanced band that was rehearsing, and they're at their competition today and down in Redlands, as Molly just mentioned. And I have no doubt that they've done an amazing job. And they sounded so fantastic, and Miss Ford is doing an amazing job with them. Kind of excited. We have a Miss Ford combo, it seems like, in sixth grade team and sisters who are commuting up the hill from Redlands. New teachers to us, young teachers, and we do need to hold on to them. We need to be able to make sure that we find a way to be able to make sure that we find creative ways to be able to make sure our staff knows how much we value them. It's a struggle. It's disheartening sometimes in terms of the lack of tools that we have available to us on this mountain and in this district compared to elsewhere in Sacramento, and I hate to provide excuses. It's the reality that we need to continue to fight, because our staff, our students are worth fighting for. The appreciation is there. No doubt that we have an amazing amount of gratitude, and especially this time of year, it's a marathon to try and get through from the last couple of 3-day weekends in February all the way to spring break. It's so incredibly exhausting. So do understand you're appreciated. What you're doing does make a difference. It has a ripple effect. And at the time, sometimes it's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It becomes, I know, really frustrating, disheartening. I don't know whether you can really understand how much an effect you're really having. And the fact that there's the love and appreciation that you are seen, you are heard, and it's important. So just wish to throw that on the table. I look forward to our AI discussion later. I think it's important for kids to get out and play. There's so much to getting dirty, being able to have that time of being a kid. You end up not interacting with people when you're staring at a screen, and that creates all sorts of dysfunctionality. We all have to stare at that screen sometimes. But getting out there and having, I don't know, I grew up in a cul-de-sac, and getting out there, hitting the ball around, playing football, being able to run around and be a kid, I'm afraid we're losing that. And we don't have any control over what happens necessarily once we send them home. But teaching kids how to play has become maybe a new necessity that we've missed out on and that we haven't had to have in the past. But kids, it's healthy, it's needed to be able to be a thriving adult, to know how to be able to play. I had a couple of other things written down. I kind of got off topic there. April 2nd, day after April Fool's Day, Mountain Training Counseling, MTC is going to be having a lip sync over at the Tudor House. It's going to be fun. It's a community event. Put it on your calendar. They're looking for talent. They're also looking for donations as far as being able to have a raffle there. They want it to be a fun community event. It's going to be $5 a person. So that's going to be on April 2nd at the Tudor House. Write it down. Be there just to have fun and be able to laugh and enjoy. Another thing to put in your calendar is May 6th is the Mountain Health and Resource Fair at the high school. So that's a Wednesday. Earlier that day, throughout the day at the high school will be Wellness Wednesday. After that wraps up, starting at 2:30 will be a community health fair. So there will be resources for all ages. They'll be giving away, they'll be having optometrists there doing eye exams where you can get free prescription eyeglasses. And this is for high school students will be able to do it throughout the day. Elementary school students, middle school students can come over after school and be able to get those same eye exams, be able to get free glasses. The glasses may be made on the spot or may have to be delivered later. There will be a bicycle helmet that's being given away for free. There will be all sorts of, for student athletes who plan on competing in CIF next school year, there will be free health exams to be able to get them certified to be able to play sports. So definitely calendar that, May 6th. And make it a point to come and see that as well. So with that, I will pass it along. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks, Jordana. Jordan?
Good evening. I'll keep it a briefer, but yeah, I'm looking forward. Again, I covered most of it, but I appreciate folks coming out tonight, and appreciate public comments too. Thank you for coming and speaking to us. I just want to encourage folks that if you ever want to reach out, you can always email us. Coming up already next month, it's hard to believe, the farmers market will be returning to Running Springs. So I'll be spending some time there. If you want to find me and talk about school board work, I'll save the rest of my information for legislative report. There were over 300 education bills introduced this year, 38, I think. A good number of them have impacts on or would impact us. Some of them could impact us, but maybe aren't, and it's an area for us to advocate. So I'll bring those up for us to consider. Again, thank you all for being here, and always reach out when you want.
Thanks, Scott. Come on, buddy.
I figured it
You
out.
got this.
It was her. Yeah.
No, because
I
you're
got
a teacher.
It's funny, somebody asked me just today, what do you miss about teaching? And I said, the kids. The kids are the one thing that you miss. I know, like you're saying, and you explained so well that it gets frustrating and you're doing so many things. But it's like, there's some difficult kids, but I can't remember them really, and you miss the kids. And so I encourage all the teachers and staff, because staff especially, because when I was teaching, some of the staff were so amazing with the students as well. Just in their encouragement and always saying hi to them and things like that. So I encourage everybody that you can think about that and make those differences, because especially at the end of the year, that's when you make those differences. Given a little bit more time, a little more attention, just recognizing them. So I encourage everybody to do that. I also, again, we don't pay our teachers and staff what they deserve. And we know that. And I know that our staff, our leadership team is working hard to find those things and hard to make that better for everybody. But it is coming from Sacramento. And I'm going to bring that up again. And I would really encourage everybody to write their state union representation and tell them they need to represent you too. Because right now that's not happening. The way it's structured right now, it does not help us at all. It just hurts us. If you are a student in San Bernardino and you're getting services and you move up to RIM, you don't get those services anymore. because it does not follow the child. And it should follow the child. So I encourage everybody to try and do that. It would help, I believe. Spring, I was also thinking, you know, it's kind of spring's right around the corner. Because for me, when I was teaching out, you get right in the kind of the middle of March and then spring break's coming up. So you have a couple things to look forward to. So it helps a little bit. But again, cherish that time. Cherish the time with the kids because you guys do make a difference. You make a huge difference. Last week, I had a student call me that was struggling with relationship problems. And all we did was sit and talk about their time at RIM and different things that happened. And they left the conversation re-energized and with kind of a new hope. And that's what you'll have later with those students. And it's fun to have those moments, to know that you did make a difference then, that they remember to call you later. So keep that in mind. Lastly, I just wanted to comment to say, I don't think it's gonna be hard to teach kids how to play. Just do like my mom did, and just lock the door. It just happens. Thank you.
Dr. William Mellinger?
Well, after last month's meeting, it was about 5:30 in the morning when the board meeting finished for me in Israel. I left the meeting and that day we drove around Israel and by evening we had traveled across into Jordan. Within hours after crossing over into Jordan, the attacks started in Iran. And fortunately, I want to thank everyone who's prayed for us and helped us get home. And it really was a God thing that got us out of Israel. We planned that trip 5 years ago. So somehow 5 years ago, I knew the day to leave Israel. Yeah, right. But it was just an amazing experience to see Israel and Jordan and Petra and just amazing places that are over there and to see how we came home. Sadly, one of the things I came home to was the celebration of life of one of our former RIM graduates who died at 33 years old, who was killed by a hit and run driver working for UPS. He was riding his scooter to work at 2:30 in the morning and was killed by a hit and run driver. We did that service just this last Sunday. Life goes on and it's always hard, and especially when you lose students like that and people that die around us when they shouldn't be dead. I guess that brings me to just trying to say to all of our teachers and staff, everything you do every day with each student or a fellow staff member matters. Everything you do. I'm impressed that each of our principals know every student in your school by name. When Trustee Riddleton and I joined Dr. Saviano yesterday at MPH, we're walking around the campus and the principal, Terry, is saying hello and stopping people, and I've missed you. You weren't in attendance this week. How are you feeling? Showing all kinds of respect. And I too I was major impressed by the cafeteria and how clean it was after lunch. In fact, I asked the question, and Dan and I are standing there like, have the kids really had lunch? There's no mess here. What's going on? And it was just very obvious that they were taking care of that place. And it was exceptional. I asked the custodian, did you already clean up or something? I mean, what happened here? It was just really amazing and impressive, the kind of respect and concern that the students have for their campus and for one another. And how did that happen? Because staff lead the way. Teachers, classified staff, everybody is a part of that community. And so I'm impressed, I praise them, and I celebrate with what they're able to do. And by the way, the MPH band, so I heard them at their last concert, but yesterday, as they were getting ready for today's competition, they were exceptional. They were blowing the room out with their sound, their control, with the dynamics that they had in the band, and they were having fun. And we even heard that nobody's getting in trouble in band. Is that true? They're great. And again,
How does that happen? By the work of staff, by the participation of people across the board. And even this, the fact that Dr. Sevillano was there yesterday just to encourage people to say to staff, we're here, we really do care. And frankly, I am convinced that no amount of money will convince you that you're appreciated. I wish, like, and Trustee Kraft has said this as well for us, we wish we could give you so much more. And when you don't have it, you can't do it. But what I believe is that you get your appreciation not from the money. Well, I wish we could give you more. You get your appreciation for what you do. You've all been called into what you're doing, and you're special and you're great at it. And thank you. It's like when I thank God for getting us out of Israel, I can't thank him enough. I can't thank you enough. I don't think there's any way to really express the appreciation, but you are valued. And we see it, and we can see it in the details of even now trash is picked up at a lunchtime at a middle school, which, by the way, is the best middle school on the mountain.
It
And
is.
with that, we will continue to work to try to see what we can do. I confess that I sometimes ask the superintendent, what else can we do to get funds for our staff? And I believe that we have additional staff, and that's our district staff, who really care about you as well. And they're going to do everything they can in order to try to support our team. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so I got vertigo for like 2 weeks, so I missed my volunteer slots at the book fair. I missed a lot of stuff, so sorry if I didn't do a good job the last couple weeks. But we have RIM Education Foundation. First, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it, and thank you for your insight and your feedback always. It's what we need and what we need to hear, whether we like it or not. So thank you so much for telling us the insight and your feedback. Appreciate all of it. RIM Education Foundation, they're holding a Bowling for Education event. The superheroes is the theme. That's March 28th at 12:15 at the bowling alley in Crestline. The Rim of the World Unified School Board is bowling. So our team name, I put it to my husband and the guys in the shop, and they were super juvenile. They're like 12-year-old boys, and everything was really a naughty name. So I couldn't do that. So I turned to Jordan, I texted him for some ideas. And so we're going with our team name is Motion to Bowl. Get it? Because we make motions. So Motion to Bowl. Yuck, 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 yuck. It's better than what Tony Gardner suggested, just saying. So we get to dress as superheroes if we wish. Just saying, Nick, you can go down that path, right? What Tony's mind would come up with. But we can dress as superheroes. I'm going to dress as a villain because we do have that option, and that makes me happy. No, I'm not dressing as Chucky. No. No, I like to dress as villains. Cruella de Vil is like one of my favorite villains. You don't want to see it happen in real life, but it's really cool in animation. Okay, so RIM High Schools. I have to say that I'm part of the San Bernardino County School Boards Association Executive Committee, and we work with the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools to host the Spring Awards, and we celebrate organizations and people for their contribution in education. And yeah, I can say it. Okay, so I was not in the meeting. I did not have a vote, so I don't want to hear that I skewed the voting. But Cheryl Russell from Arrowhead Arts is receiving the Distinguished Award in Education. So I'm really excited about that. This is the first for RIM. So no, I think we've had RIM Education Foundation too, but I'm really excited about this. The other thing is during this event, I was asked to reach out to RIM High Schools, to get some singers for the national anthem and do the pledge. So we have 2 students from RIM High Advanced Choir who will be doing that. And that is a first for RIM, to have students be part of this student little entertainment and national anthem and pledge. So I'm really, really excited and proud about that. This is the month for scholarship applications, so I'm encouraging everybody out there who's really listening, all 5 of you, no, just kidding. If you're a parent, please encourage your student to go and seek out Lisa Mills, go to the counseling office to get hard copies. But the scholarships, all of them, are posted on RIM High School website, Mountain High School and RVA. Please see Lisa Mills, she's got them for you. Lisa Mills has been busy meeting with students one-on-one, especially those Mountain High School students, to get their FAFSA done, as well as get their scholarships done as well. Last year, over $154,000 was given out at Senior Awards Night and by the community organization. So there's money sitting there to help students get their, a laptop or textbooks or whatever and send them on their way. The scholarships, there are several that cover trade as well as college fees. So please don't think that you're limited because you're going to a trade or an apprenticeship. Please look at the scholarships. Went to the combination Crestline with Arrowhead Municipal Advisory Committee. That was interesting, super long. I was appreciative of our board meeting links. But lots of good information from all the first responders. Went to the Lake Arrowhead MAC meeting the other week, the same thing. Lots of really good information, especially from our firefighters. They're very concerned over the winds that we just had, sweeping down and drying out the vegetation, and there's no rain on the way. So they're really concerned about our upcoming season. The last thing, Jason Staymeyer and the Awesome Ceramics, they are down at our whole VAPA department at RIM High School. They're down at the California State University San Bernardino Art Show. It's not a competition, but our students are presenting all of their artwork, and I just think it's brilliant. I know that when our students have competed the craft pots or ceramics craft pots on a national level, they've always been recognized. So that's the kind of caliber artwork that comes out of our VAPA department. So that's a really fun thing. And then lastly, RIM High School's open house is coming up on March 24th. And just encouraging all those 8th grade parents, bring your students, because you're gonna be listening to what all RIM has to offer. All the wonderful courses you can take. There'll be sports and clubs set up for you to check out, to get more information on, and be able to tour the campus. So please, 8th grade parents, come to RIM High School and visit the little nook near the art department in the 100 wing, because you sit in a cafe in Paris with Van Gogh, Sky, and it is the happiest place, that little nook, to sit down with coffee. And please, and the exhibit of our student artwork, it's magical. It's truly magical. So parents, please visit the VAPA department. You will be impressed, and then your kid will want to join with VAPA. And then there's the drama. So on the other end of the school, but that's okay. That'll be great. All right, so that's it. I'm going to do this correctly. 9.3, Superintendent Dr. Paul Saviano.
Thank you for that introduction. I want to just, I'm passing out kind of the schedule. I was honored to participate this week in a CTA District Superintendent's San Bernardino delegation in Sacramento. And it was paid for by the county. Okay, so understand that. The purpose of this visit was to meet with state legislators to advocate on San Bernardino County educational priorities. They've had like lobby weeks. I learned quite a bit about the organizations, the numerous organizations they're lobbying to meet with the state legislators about their needs as the budget is unfolding. Members of the delegation included County Superintendent Ted Alejandre, a CTA coalition of teacher presidents from San Bernardino Unified School District, Redlands, Unified, Colton, Mountain View, and then a couple of other colleagues of mine from Mountain View School District as well as Apple Valley. The delegation met with 11 legislators, including our own Senator Ochoa Bo, Eloise Gomez Reyes, and Susan Rubio, an old colleague of mine from another, from Walden Park,
From
another life, and Assembly Member Michelle Rodriguez. In addition to those folks, we met with the Department of Finance Education Program Budget Manager Jessica Holmes. That was a fascinating discussion. And Marguerite Reese, who's the Assembly Education Committee Principal Consultant. These meetings were set up by our Capital Advisors Group, who the county contracts with, to really help advocate for the needs of San Bernardino County. And I want to thank Nick for giving us feedback on those priorities. So what I shared with the board was just the schedule, and then the priorities. What we got the chance to meet with, not every legislator was able to meet with us. We met with some other aides as well. But really what the three big priorities were, one was special education, and really the workforce and student support challenges. As special education numbers are increasing across the state, they also increase, the sizes of, they change the makeup of the general education classroom as well. And we struggle with, funding all the additional aids and the supports that teachers need in terms of that initial workload. There's additional IEP meetings they have to attend. And so that was a big issue for them to talk about. And it was also interesting to hear the feedback and the clarification in terms of when we provide that information, their understanding of what that really looks like. And having the general practitioners, the education coalition in the room who are boots on the ground every day in the classroom was helpful. And then hearing that perspective. The other area was the cost of living and staff compensation. That's a huge issue as the state proposes to hold back $5.6 billion in state funding, which really comes out of our Prop 98 funds, which is the minimum guarantee that's in the Constitution for education. Yet the governor wants to hold back $5.6 billion of that after last year, holding back $1.9 billion, and to fund other programs or other needs. And it's almost borrowing from public education. And we shared with them that the strain that puts on school districts, the fiscal strain to meet our responsibilities, including increased district compensation for our staff, and to support our staff with the wages they deserve. In addition to our escalating operational costs, which continue to go up. In fact, we just received word that our healthcare is going to go up like 12%. And so they don't really understand, well, we want to hold that back for emergencies. I said, well, what you're doing is you're going to put some districts, in fiscal insolvency in some cases. How do we plan our 3-year budgets based on 1 year, throwing extra money for one time? We encourage them to put the money back into the base. They listened, but they also had their arguments as to why they want to hold that back. But I do think having the dialogue was important. The other area was California community schools. That, as you meant, we've talked about this before in here. Our district applied for that and spent a considerable amount of energy and time to put together a community schools plan. Then we were denied. It's a research-based program that provides it meets the social and emotional needs of our students as well as our academic needs. And what that program does is a full service environment for kids, including and their families, including bringing healthcare partners in to help our families, our most neediest families. And so our request was to expand that program to provide access for districts like ours who don't meet those thresholds of poverty level, but because we're isolated on the mountain, have those same needs. So the request was to raise those per site grants and continue that funding through 2036, and not to put that money into one of the proposals was to put that money into into the base funding, and we said, not everybody benefits from that. Why would you, how, that's unfair. So there was some really good discussions on that. And this was really truly democracy in action. When you see, you're actually able to articulate the state legislators who listened to educational practitioners and getting, what is really going on in schools. And those arguments, having the California Teachers Association presidents there to share those concerns about what their teachers are experiencing in the classroom and the needs they have for additional compensation support of programs. I was honored to represent the district, and we will not know the impact of these meetings until, of course, the May revise is released later this year. But I want to just say that I was really impressed with the level of staff that was there, the teachers that were there, the other superintendents who were there, and I was an opportunity to have RIM represented in that. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Gordon did give a little update in Sandus on Wednesday and said it was highly successful. So thank you for attending on our behalf.
Kevin and I actually rode in the backseat of cars carrying our superintendent's capes back in the day. So
Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny.
2014.
Okay, now you're dating yourself and I'm kind of scared at the condition of your cake.
Well, I'm old.
Okay. So 9.4, business services presentation by TVP Architecture on options and budget for bond spending. And please introduce yourselves because I forgot your name from months and months and months ago. Sorry about that.
We're gonna have Jim and I.
Oh, you know what?
Thank you.
Maybe Jim should give this report because he loves giving reports. He loves
Doesn't he?
He loves public speaking as much as Kim does.
Right.
Do you mind turning on the? Awesome. Okay, thank you for having us, and we have a presentation for you tonight, and then a couple agenda items down, some just official direction that we're going to be talking about, and we have the presentation up on the screen. But if I can go ahead and have the team introduce ourselves, people who are in the audience and may not know. I think most of you know Jim and I. So Gary.
Good evening, we're Dr. Saviano. Great to be back here again in front of you to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing since we saw you last time. My name is Gary Moon with TVP Architecture.
And I'm Chuck Forte with TVP.
So we thought, if we could, go ahead with the agenda. So we thought, as I said, we talked a little bit about what our project process has been since we saw you last. And we've gotten to the point now where we want to make some recommendations, and those recommendations are on concerning LAE. And then we'll show you essentially what those recommendations are going to cost, how long it's going to take, and then what the next steps are for not only LAE, but all the schools. So last, thank you. Next one. If you could, last time we were here, we talked about the fact that we did toured all the different schools and made some observations and found that there were a series of facilities priorities, and the facilities priorities are this is what you had listed and what we had come up with during that meeting. Where the most important things were electrical service, was generators, roofing, and then HVAC. So those really sexy things, but they're really, really important to the district. And in addition to that, we worked with you to come up with kind of the most important, most needy school of all, and then kind of create a list, if you will, from there. It doesn't mean that the list might not change, but starting with LAE, like Arrowhead. So beginning there, if you could go to the next slide, please. We began to do a facility analysis, and with our engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, we went out to each of the campuses and took stock of what we saw in terms of architectural items that will need to be addressed, as well as how to approach the mechanical systems in each of the schools. And we've documented all that and put it in a report. And we started with LAE because we know, congratulations on selling the bonds. We know that you want to get started on that work. So we thought the most expeditious way, because with 6 schools, it takes a little while to go through every single report. We'd start with LAE so we could just hit the ground running. And so that's what we'll show you here in a second. So if we go to the next slide. With design recommendations. So working with Jim, we came up with the tack that we would do gas electric units across the district. And in all the classrooms, we're going to use condensing furnaces and cooling coils. And in the multipurpose rooms, because they're so large, we're going to use a little bit different system. It's going to be a custom system, but it's a air handling unit with furnaces and cooling coils. And so we've got, within this report, we've got the recommendation of what those items are exactly, where they're going to be located, what the impact is to each room, and then, of course, the cost. So the next slide, please. So in order to accommodate all those mechanical units, HVAC and clean the air, etc. We're going to need to update the electrical, of course, and make sure that we have generators to support it when we have all those times up here where students or the electricity is shut off by a CE. So in addition to that, we need electrical panels to distribute that, and when we're doing that, we're going to need to upgrade the lights and the controls. So next, please. Because we're spending money on this campus, we'll also need to do accessibility items. And as I said, from an architectural standpoint, you need to make sure that the path of travel is taken care of from the front door of the campus all the way to every single class. Upgrading restrooms, and then correcting any things like at LAE where we have the building ramps in the interior because they're not accessible. They're accessible, but they're not per code. We want to correct those. We want to correct door hardware and thresholds, and then upgrade the fire alarm as well because it's pretty works.
Oh, the staff's going to be super excited to see that line.
Yeah. So next, please. So what does it all cost? As I think you all know, and we talked a little bit about last time, that construction cost is just part of the combination of things that the bond monies will go towards. So the construction costs, of course, are going to go towards the HVAC, the accessible compliance, temporary housing, and then we'll have some optional scope depending on what it is that we want to have other than those highest priority items. And then, of course, there's soft costs, which also are in addition to those construction costs, permit fees, design fees, hazardous removal, furniture, etc. So you add those two together, that's a total project cost. So that's what we'll be showing you here in a second. Did I miss anything yet?
No, you didn't. Actually, we're just going to be showing the construction costs.
Oh,
The soft costs will be on.
so the next slide, please. So it's a little difficult to see, but essentially it's about $4.3 million to outfit LAE with in all those spaces that don't have air conditioning at this point. Electrical, we're putting in the site electrical, emergency generator, as we said, lighting and controls, and that's about $5 million. Access compliance is 2.3, and then temporary housing, because in order to perform this work, we have to move the students out of the spaces they're in, move them into different facilities, do the work, and then move them back in, and we'll have to do it in a phased manner. And in total, you can see the bottom line is $12.8 million. Let's see, next slide.
Yeah.
The optional improvements that I was talking about, we know that the roof is in some aspects in pretty bad shape, end of life. Some of the windows are leaking, and there was a desire to have a shade structure in the lunch area. or just outside like elementary. So those were the extra optional improvements, if you will. So that would be in addition to the 12.8. And then the next one, please. So schedule, you want to talk about the schedule?
Sure. So this is the from where we were at, which we started a little bit last year. And right now we're finishing up there's not really much in the way of a schematic design because there's not enough design to this. But that at that end of that arrow where it says PDSD, that's where we're at right now. So we'll hop into the design development, where we'll bring in our consultants or engineers, and we'll start the construction documents. And we see that as being a 2-month process. And that's something that we could start within a few weeks if you choose to go this route. And then after that, we go into construction documents, and that's another 5 months. And we submit it to DSA. I assume you're all kind of familiar with what DSA is. That's usually about a 6-month process between submittal and getting approval. We allow for 3 months to bid. And then we're looking at a 13-month construction project process. And then usually at the end of 13 months, you can go ahead and you can occupy. But then we'll have to do closeout with DSA, but that's just getting the right forms done and as-built and that sort of thing. So that puts us starting in July of next year. We'll fortunately have some time off. The kids will be out of school. And then we want to be able to finish before the next school year starts. So we're basically looking at a school year.
Okay, so then the next slide, please. Which is, okay, from where we are, where are we gonna go? So as Beck just said, hopefully we'll be able to move into construction documents. We're gonna have a pre-meeting with DSA to make sure that what we think we need to provide them is what we provide them, then we're all on the same page. We'll finish the documents. It'll come to you to be asked to bid the project after DSA has looked at it, and then we'll begin that phase construction. And right now the interim housing will be we're thinking it's going to be eight portable classrooms that shuffle in, will be made, because that's the size of the largest wing. At the same time, while that's all occurring, we'll also be finishing the other reports, so you'll know, that the monies that you're earmarking for these can be spread out between the different schools, and then we'll choose the next campus, because ideally we'd be ready so that as soon as you get the next round of money, we're boots on the ground, ready to go, shovel ready, have a shovel ready project. So again, we'll begin to prepare the design and construction documents, and then get ready for that next bond sale. So with that, look, open up for questions.
Except for questions, because I'm sure that y'all are. Go ahead, Bill, because you got your red light on.
Yeah, thank you. First one's simple. How much did we actually sell in the first bonds?
I believe it's about 17 million, 18 million.
18.
Yeah.
18 million. We're looking at here at about 14.5, 15 million. If we do.
Right, if you do it all.
With our bond financial team, we're had already planned on every 2.5 years for a bond sale. So they're geared up to kind of having that next bond sale on kind of keeping construction going. So we set the direction now. The bond sales will we've already talked about that with Adam Bauer and Jason Chang on timing that to be able to spend it within the 3 years, but then being able to also not impact other funds. So we don't have a stall at the end of that.
Go on.
So the next bond sales would be around 2029.
No, the next bond sale would be around 2028.
28. And how did we select LAE?
The most need out of all the other campuses.
By what criteria?
They've gotten the least amount of improvements over the years. And they have the worst electrical system in the district.
But I think also another factor is eligibility for state modernization. At least I know that most of that money is probably spoken for, but there's another criteria to look at.
So the ones that are up for modernization are LAE, Rem High School, and DOE.
And as Dr. Saviano pointed out, if we want to get in line, the money's, it's crazy, but the money's already been earmarked from the previous statewide bond, but we want to get in line so that money, we can capture as much as possible and extend those funds.
Sorry. So the modernization is matching funds, is that correct? Correct. So that bond sale, since it'll be matching, then we won't be spending as much as that then.
So it'll almost work like a reimbursable, where we'll spend Measure E funds, be in line for that round of funding, and then use that money for a different project. But we'll account for, our match within all of Measure E. So very similar to the last phase of Rome High School.
Right, so that's my concern, is that taking that into account with matching funds, that we at least look at percentages and make sure that we're allocating enough money to each school. I realize that the bid process is a lengthy process and coming up with all these amounts is, but that we are mindful that the percentages are going to work out roughly so that we can distribute the money evenly.
So we're not waiting 7 years on something our end, maybe from the state's end, we're waiting, but not on
But
something.
we know it's gonna happen and that we can spread it out evenly. And hopefully have enough money to go back and do some of those other things later.
Yeah, and that'll help with cash flow, on the cash flow side of if we're in between bond sales or the next school is more than this, having that matching funds, if it's in line, knowing we'll be able to stretch that next bond sale with those dollars.
Is it possible to get a breakdown of what we're looking at percentage wise for each school then?
We have that, school works at it for us. I did not bring it, but I can get it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we already have monies that we've spent for modernization that is already in the pool that we'd be able to get matching monies for?
We don't have any DSA approved plans for the matching, no.
No, and like in terms of like the roof or any other monies that we've already spent as a district that we have not received matching funds for. Okay.
As I look at this stuff, because especially the access compliance, that's just, it has to happen. We don't really have a choice with that. And I want to make that clear that everybody understands that just has to happen. And it's not like we can pick and choose and say, oh, we're not going to do that. That just flat out has to happen. Correct.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, the DSA won't allow you to do any work. I mean, they want you to spend at least 20% of what you're doing on to bring the schools up to accessibility. And, as we know, LAE is one of the more challenging. I mean, they're all challenging sites because of the hills, but it's one of the most challenging.
The biggest.
Yeah.
The $13 million estimate here, is that based on today's dollars, or is that taking into consideration inflation and what will the actual monies that we will need to spend are in a couple of years?
It's escalated to midpoint of construction.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we have about 10% inflation.
And I'm just curious, would it benefit us to move Valley of Enchantment up so that we aren't waiting on the rest of those matching funds? So that we get the schools that are eligible for matching funds to happen first, if possible. I know that.
My understanding is VOE is not eligible now. They will become eligible in the modernization. That's what part of the whole thing is. Rome High School, LAE are the ones that are eligible right this minute.
And Scott, that schedule that was put together for us from on the state eligibility also has the date they become eligible. So I'll include that in my update tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because VOE is coming up, but it's not.
There you go.
because of already spending prior modernization money.
Thank you.
Like on the generator or what?
No, under Measure W, 2000, late 2000s. I mean, it's still been a long time, so all the sites need it, so.
The unfortunate thing, I have to say this, is that the school that is at the lowest elevation, therefore the hottest school, is Valley of Enchantment Elementary. The school that has the highest temperatures in the classrooms is Valley of Enchantment Elementary, and yet we're looking at several years down the road. And so the people that probably even work the hardest to try to get the bond passed are the ones that are gonna have to maybe wait the longest, and that's unfortunate and troubling.
CFP will be.
Clarification question. You mentioned for HVAC, gas electric units. Can you tell me a little bit more about what those are and what other systems you evaluated?
So right now, the state will allow you to run a gas electric, and we've already got gas out on the site. So it's more cost effective than to just go pure electricity. I think also since you have issues with losing power, you're probably better off. Also, the upgrade to do just pure electrical is also going to affect that cost to upgrade your sites for electrical, because right now you don't have enough power out there.
And that would affect the generator as well, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
so everything would be upgraded, everything would get more expensive, so. Right now, you're allowed to use gas.
Terrible.
Yeah, they work a lot better up here too.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
That's better.
Go ahead, Jordana. Curious, asking you quickly, does this plan also address any of the parking needs that we have at LAE? No, okay.
We're trying to make sure that, we spend the money on the things that absolutely have to be done.
And when a lot of pre-discussion and pre-meetings, especially with these two also, is knowing that the $71 million bond sale didn't address all of our needs. Like, what can we do, what would be the absolute that we can do, and make our money stretch to be able to address. I know the timing doesn't sound like it, unfortunately, that's school construction. But to be able to do some of those, really basic needs at every site and have that be our goal before doing a lot at, with some of those extras. One of the things that, we'll continue to look at, and it all depends with, Prop 2 language is still, being worked on, and finalized, seeing what type of, not just modernization, matching funds, but what else can come out for expanding programs that are under that umbrella too, like a CTE, like an early education. We do have, a small, it's with construction dollars, it's small, okay, but we have $800,000 or $900,000 of developer fees. Yes, that comes in $70,000 at a year, it builds up, but we have some matching funds there that could also help stretch this current bond sale. That could participate in maybe, making sure we can be able to hit the ground running with some of those next, kind of the next item.
Can you touch base a little bit on the bid process, like, and how many people goes out to the whole, everything you're looking for then?
So it depends on how you want to do it. So, I think right now we're expecting, plans, bid, and then contractor comes on board. There are other ways of doing it. There's like lease back and that sort of thing. But as far as the bidding is concerned, you're gonna advertise it. And that's what that 3-month schedule. You're probably not gonna quite need 3 months, but by the time she gets all her bids in, they have to go to you to ratify and say, yeah, go ahead and spend the money. It's about a 3-month process. So we'll take our construction documents, sort of plans and specs and everything DSA approved, and then you'll go ahead and advertise it for bidders.
How many normally do you get that we'll be looking at? There's gonna be 3, 5, 7?
You know, I think we can help you out a little bit, because we know a lot of contractors ourselves, so we can say, hey, this project's coming up, you may want to bring a bid on it. So I think we can, I don't know how much you typically get here, but I
We
think we can.
struggle.
You struggle.
Mhm.
I think we can help out with the process and talk to contractors that we work with, good contractors that we work with. And get them to put in bids, so it's, I just can't really tell you how many you'll end up getting, but you know, I think if you can get 3, that's pretty good. When you get less, then it's a little sketchy as far as how good of a price you're actually getting.
That's what I was hoping for. We at least get 3 to 5 that we
Yeah.
can actually.
3 to 5, we'd be happy with, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the other challenge with that is that it just depends on when it goes out to bid and how busy everybody is.
Bill?
And these estimates, you've taken into consideration the extra costs for the mountain work.
Yeah, and you know, I think the challenge is with all the things that are going on, as you pointed out, you know, and you saw kind of firsthand, we have 10% escalation. You know, we used to carry 2% and 2% a year. Now it's, you know, it's at 3.5 or whatever it is. It's much higher. But even that, I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to. It'd be really nice if I could look into the future and see exactly what the prices are going to be, and then we'd be set. But unfortunately, I can't. Yeah, it's more.
Take me back one more time, Jenny. How confident are we that we're going to actually get Prop 2 or matching funds down the road?
Well, the matching funds for modernization, when we're in line, will be if the DSA approves that we're in line. You know, they're not based on need. They're not based on our UPP. They're not, you know, so it's those other types of funded programs within the state system that are, you know, so we have about $14 million over the next several years of matching funds. You know, if we have DSA approved plans, we'll be in line for that money when the state funds them. But it's some of the hardship, it's the more competitive or qualifying plans under the same umbrella that, you know, we as a district, we're low, you know, we're low UPP compared to some of them who want 65-75% unduplicated student counts. So there's some that we won't be by that nature with the hardship, but they're trying to make some rule exceptions to that, which so that side of the funding, you know, I feel a little hesitant. Maybe not so much with the TK or the CTE expansion, but as far as just regular state modernization, as long as a state sells a bond and we're in line, we would get the money.
Yeah, just that getting in line is the key, and the sooner you get in line.
We need to get those DSA plans approved.
You're eligible for that.
And we kind of thought we were getting in line already, but we're not.
Well, until that's done.
Until we have DSA plans, yeah.
The optional improvements, at what point do those need to be determined whether we want to do them or not?
When we're done,
Yeah.
we see how much money's left.
Yeah.
After doing the electrical HVAC.
Meaning that, but not right after that, wouldn't we? I would think we would wait till we went down the line with all the schools.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, school district. Yes.
There could be some roofing partials or items to address in the next few years. So
Yeah.
As we go.
LAE does have leaks.
What?
LAE does have leaks into their hallways where we put trash cans under those leaks.
Not anymore.
So, okay, that's what you're saying?
Not anymore.
Okay, Jim.
Oh, we still need it.
So we don't have repair work to do on the roof.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Put Band-Aids on.
Hold on,
Yes.
Jordan's
a Band-Aid.
Jordan's had his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, just a question about those optional improvements. I mean, shade structures look like a significant investment. I'm just curious, have we looked at the possibility of buying mature trees? Because we know those survive up here and I can't imagine costing that much. that a viable path forward, even if it required tearing up some asphalt to be able to get trees in there?
I think that's a conversation we can have at that time, because I'll tell you, I love the shade structure, but at this point, I just want to make sure that every school is serviced. And we can go back to have shade structure, because the HVAC systems are first with the generators. Fire alarm system at LAE is absolutely necessary. And then and then the roofs. And then we can talk the shade structures, especially when we start getting those matching funds in. That's something that would just be able to be easily plugged in at that point. I have a question. Is there any way to, I guess, maybe overlap, because of the timeline of starting the second school? Is there any way that can there be a more overlap so that we're
We
doing
can
it?
start the next school and the paperwork as we start construction at LEC. So then we'll be
So
ready
there would
for the
be,
next.
there is.
We're going to have already starting looking at that. Like after this meeting stops.
Okay, all right, that's
You know
all
what I
I
mean?
want.
So,
Okay.
so
So
then,
you're gonna start getting the cost
Yes.
for the next school,
yes,
and then,
so then can go,
okay,
and there.
and sell the bond.
We'll see how the bids come out though too. We might be able to project, I don't think so, but let's say hopeful, we can project maybe moving up that timeline a little bit if we say, we're not gonna use all of this bond sale. I don't think
Gotcha.
that's gonna happen, but if we're looking at that way, there's no reason why we wouldn't say,
Let's start.
we have everything done,
Let's
we're
go.
gonna do construction documents now.
Perfect,
And we'll
okay,
get a DSA approved and be ready to go
Yeah.
as soon as the next one's ready.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
And we may have two schools under construction at the same time in terms of.
but
so-
as long as we can monitor cash flow,
Right.
then we can actually start on those plans a couple years ahead of construction dates, even for schools down the list.
Yes.
Okay,
But we're not waiting on that,
okay,
yeah.
So just, once you get TSA approval, I think you have 2 to 3 years before
Right.
it actually
Start
starts.
construction.
And, doing it early is fun.
especially with DSA,
Yeah.
because you never know.
I'd rather have plans and we have to wait for some construction time or weather or a bond sale than
Right.
have that, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to ask or discuss?
So.
If not, go ahead.
Well, I think that the item to actually give us the yes is a couple down, but I think for clarity now, I mean, I guess if you have any questions or want to give any, is this list here the actual order? Okay, then is there a proposed next school?
So we're looking for.
Okay. Okay, and
It's- Yeah, if we're looking at the modernization schedule,
so that doesn't have to be necessary.
it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, so, but looking at how VOEs are coming up the pipe really quickly.
So whether there's a full presentation, we'll bring another agenda item in the next couple meetings on kind of looking at that schedule. And so we can start getting our ducks in a row, because things just take a long time on that next school,
Okay,
right? And I just want to make sure
I
I'm
think-
hearing everything the same.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank
you.
Thanks for the heart attack. Love it. All right, so 9.5. Educational services presentation of the proposed model board policy 0441, artificial intelligence AI. So that's Mr. Whiteside.
I'll be right there. We do one of the.
That's totally AI.
My name.
Not explaining it all. No, let's put the ease on it, bond. See if we select. For the basketball. Yeah, we ready. Are you ready, Mark? Okay, Mark is getting up there. Yay, Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, good evening. Board Superintendent Kevin, we're grateful to have an opportunity to talk about AI. And also just want to acknowledge comments with regard to always being a history teacher and knowing the importance of the paper pencil and the interactive learning as well. So even as we talk about, technology and its importance, there's also that productive struggle and learning and activity that is absolutely needed. So point well taken there. And I think our student board rep shared a little bit about that in our recent LCAP meeting. We'll talk about that when we get to the slides.
Good.
You're up next.
Okay, so on this slide, we're gonna, this is a recap of the actual board policy. Of course, I threw it into AI and said, hey, make a summary of the board policy. So it made a summary of the board policy. So this is a feature of AI. Remember, AI is only as good as the data that it has. So we always have to remember that when we're discussing education topics and things like that. So I'm not sure if we want to go over this line by line. No? Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Okay,
You know how
fantastic.
advanced I am in this stuff.
Scott, I will take any question you have.
We can ask AI to summarize it.
And there you go. Thank you. So at the beginning of the school year, we were tasked to set up an AI task force, which we cleverly called it the TRAIL Group, Technology Research, Artificial Intelligence, and Learning Group. This is a group that consists of administrators, teachers, and classified. We have a middle school principal. We have a couple of high school teachers. We have some elementary teachers and an elementary SPED teacher. So she brings in a different point of view on some of the topics, which is wonderful. We have in January, we sent out a parent survey just to gauge where our parents are in AI and what they think the school should do or the district should do and how they feel they can help with the district as well for AI. I wanted to bring up a couple of curious remarks from the survey. 50% of our parents didn't know how education and AI work together. So that was pretty interesting. I was kind of blown away with that, being that AI has been out for some time, but they don't really understand the link between education and AI. A couple of things they also brought up was privacy concerns. Of course, students putting in names of other students, confidential information such as IEP, student SIS numbers, things like that, how we would as a district deal with that, and the privacy that privacy overall, how that's going to work with AI and in education. They talked about responsible use. How are the students going to use AI? It's so simple just to have a test on a Chromebook and then open a tab and have ChatGPT, Gemini on the other tab and just, do everything for you. So this is not what we are about. We are not, we don't want to use AI as a cheating tool. We want to use AI as an informative educational tool. So I think that's one thing that we have to push out to our parents, that this is not used as cheating. This is not used to write your papers for you. Things like that. Teacher training was also brought up. I'm not a teacher, but I know how to use AI. I know teachers, and they know how to use AI. But there's that interim. There's the people in between. So that's the people that we need to target to say, this can help you in your classroom, take it or leave it, but it does have lots of advantages, such as tutoring. Yesterday in our trail meeting, a company came online with us called Magic School AI, and they talked about their tutoring that they have available. Of course, it's not giving the students answers, it's guiding them to the answers. So we just want to be cognizant of these of topics that parents are bringing up. The last one is writing and grammar. Parents want to make sure that it's not doing, AI is not writing and doing all the grammar for the students. So we have to be cognizant, like I said, of that as well. And research, obviously, they mentioned research, that it's not doing all of the research for them. I mean, we have libraries, we have ways for students to use anything but a computer to do the research. So we want to make sure that AI is not taking over the classroom and doing everything for them.
I think some of this was already covered with what Mr. Malone was sharing, but just kind of going a little bit more depth. On the parent end, I think we heard they're cautious yet supportive. They want to see that we have that boundary in place of like when to use it, when not. And that's also a theme that you see with the students. Security was another piece, but kind of looking at it from a different perspective as a parent trying to protect their students' information. That came up as well. And then we were talking also about a potential parent engagement night on AI. Like in years past, we've done some community nights on, safety for teens, safety online, safety with social media. There's a safety component to AI and making sure that they're using it responsibly. So as we continue to build, providing a parent night and making sure that our parents are informed so that they can support their students at home. Staff, I think we talked about that in terms of, yes, it can make things a little bit faster or, a little bit more efficient if you're throwing things into like a Magic School AI or using some of those resources. But really working with our teacher teams and our classified staff to find out what PD works best, right? And to find out how that would be most supportive. And as we get information, like I'll say I forwarded one on to staff within the last 2 days of certification opportunities that exist with like a UCI where you can get certified in AI and you can have some of those teacher leaders that really want to dive deeper. We also have some teacher leaders going to the CUBE conference later in the month. So bringing that information back to their school sites. Our LCAP students, like we kind of alluded to, Molly made some really great points. And one of those things about productive struggle was the paper pencil, right? Like when they're putting everything in the computer, some of the learning is lost, some of the research, some of the cognition that comes with doing your own reading and writing. So we thought that was really profound for Molly and some of her colleagues in the LCAP student focus group to really focus in on, yeah, I can copy and paste it, but I didn't really read it or I didn't really learn it, and the importance of that process and learning. So I thought that was really strong of them to admit, and that as they're looking into college and career, they don't want to be put in a situation where they're in trouble at work, where they're in trouble at school, where they know that AI fact checkers are out there, right? And you can use like a Twain GPT that's going to tell you that that's 40% AI or 90% AI, but giving them the tools to kind of ascertain what works, what doesn't. And we're also looking at some resources along that line. So you've probably heard of things like turnitin.com in the past that would check for plagiarism, but how they incorporate now like an AI functionality as well. So you're seeing how much AI it is, the rhythm even of how they type will give you insight as to whether it was their own thoughts or it was taken from something else, or they AI'd it over here, looked over here, and started typing. It's really interesting how some of the AI checkers are even looking at the rhythm of the way they type. So there's a lot out there, and I think more to dive into.
It's funny, I just read an article about college admissions and the quote unquote over-polished resume. Talking about the gaps of the have and have not students, ones that are able to afford that really expensive college admissions counselor that they have since middle school, and what they're noticing is they can see ChatGPT essays. It's starting to happen, and you can tell, and it's a cadence, it's a look, and so they're already seeing it, and unfortunately those over polished college resumes and applications are getting put aside. They are being recognized, and the value of the kids that do the hard work, the struggle, as you said, they're the ones that are being rewarded.
Well, and to that point, the discrepancy between the real you and the AI you. And I think, again, one of the students shared with me, it's kind of like social media. You could put a filter on your picture, you can put a filter on the essay that you write. And it's what is the real you, right? And recognizing that the human is what brings the creativity and the authenticity. And then again, AI is a tool and how to use it.
It's not just students though either. You know, in the job market, it's the same thing. People are, you know, maybe a few years ago, you could skim through and maybe find 10% of people meeting the job requirements for a job posting, and now 80% of, you know, applications look like all-star perfect candidates that can do everything. So it's getting harder to sift through, not just for college applications, but just jobs too.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Scott.
Mark, you've seen a lot of this, right? You've been at high school for a long time. I was just thinking the emails when everybody pushed back, I'm not doing email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's gotten so popular so fast. We didn't see rumblings 1 to 2 years, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, but now it's in everything.
And that's what I struggle with. Having taken math in high school where there was no scientific calculators and, you know, and having to look up trig charts and the like and do calculus just cold, and teaching and seeing the advent of graphing calculators and more tools, which are fantastic. But along the way, seeing students using them more as a crutch, or humans using more a crutch, and the thinking and the critical thinking stopping. And I know one of the things that math curriculum has introduced more so is estimating. So before you start punching the numbers, what kind of answer are we looking for? And I would have students at high school level who did not have those estimating skills and would punch the wrong numbers on their calculator and the like. And I wonder, what are the safeguards or ways to be able to, with AI, take that pause and be able to make sure that we're getting some authentic thinking and understanding? Because that's what my concern is like I saw with calculators with some students, they lost the understanding because they were letting the technology do the work for them and were less equipped to be able to meet life. And with AI, having greater concerns of them losing those skills by having this crutch. Philosophical issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, to that point, that's instructional strategies, right? And as you're looking at having students have a prompt in front of them and writing that with a pencil, right? And then looking at AI to get tips on improvement. And then again, they're doing their refinement. Again, in that student section, when we had the LCAP student meeting, we talked about, again, we did a scenario where we put scenarios around the wall, and it was, when is AI a go, a grow, or a no? Right? When can you totally use it and it's safe? When can you grow from it? And when is it, nope, you need to do it on your own? It was really interesting to see the student feedback on that as we analyze things like a recipe, and AI told us to put cinnamon in guacamole, which I think we talked about that example before. But it really reminds you that it's a tool.
What I wonder about is possibly incorporating more talk in the classroom. So having a conversation and being able to have more of that kind of a thinking, that's I don't know, just, I'm not saying there's any shoulds, it's just probably we're gonna have to look at how we operate as educators.
Absolutely.
This is me. Oh, okay. So every year, in order for our students to use a computer, part of the data confirmation that every parent has to do is they have to acknowledge that we have an acceptable use agreement for their student. This acceptable use agreement talks about technology and how they should use technology. It talks about physical technology, like when they check out a Chromebook, you know, to take care of the Chromebook as it's their own. If they break it, they have to pay for it, things like that. We want to integrate the AI component into that agreement so that we have one piece of paper that the parents and the students understand is, hey, this is where we're at in technology, the use of technology, the use of devices, and the use of AI, so that we don't have number one, we don't have two forms. And number two is we want them to understand how integrated and how we want to make sure as a district that they understand how AI should be used in the classroom for their homework, for doing things like writing a resume and things like that. So we want to make sure that it's completely integrated in the technology use one.
Just kind of wrapping up here, I think on your slide, you can kind of see there's some overlap, but we're looking at secured use versus free access. So when you think about the tools that our teachers or our staff can use, I gave some picture examples of, like, for example, DIFID is one that you can be used to differentiate based on a student's reading level, grade level, standard. You can put it all in there. But when you put that prompt in there, it's not specific to the student or your class, right? Because when you're using the free access of an AI platform, you're getting a general answer from the algorithm. But when you have secured use, which, if, for example, we just adopted that Panorama with Solara, you can actually upload the student actual information safely within the secured wall of Panorama because it's protecting our student information. In that scenario, now you can put the same prompt in and look at lesson design, this standard, how to differentiate, but specifically to the kids in your class because you can pull their secured data. So making sure we know the difference between the free versions, right, that are not safe and secure versus when we're using the secure platforms that we have those safety nets around for data sharing and so forth. So in terms of that on the staff side, but also on the student side, looking at our expectations assemblies. When we're teaching students about positive behavior on campus, whether that's in the classroom or in assemblies, also looking at some of the social media, AI, the different, technology uses, and how we can be safe and responsible with those. So a couple of clicks there where you can see some examples of the secure version versus the free version.
And I just wanted to add, we currently we don't allow any AI tools on our student devices. So if the student goes home on their Chromebook and tries to use ChatGPT or Gemini or anything like that, they don't have access to that. Our employees do, but our students don't at this time. Mm-hmm.
Does AI have abilities to work around those data protections in programs?
But I don't know about that, but the programs that we use, they are vetted, and we sign like a contract with Panorama that says they will not use our data for anything else. There's guardrails set up. That is a concern if a student, on their phone or whatever uses ChatGPT. Who knows where that's going and what they're doing with the data on the back end. That's the concern for privacy. So that's why we have to have a policy in place where whatever free AI we have or a paid AI we use, that these guardrails are in place, that our students testing data, for example, in Panorama, that's not going to go anywhere but sit in an enclave at Panorama and not be shared with anybody.
Doesn't Google or Chrome utilize AI resources already for searches?
So
which is not,
yeah, if you just
not Gemini, it's not.
Well, Google is Gemini. So if you type in a search in Google, it can give you the Gemini version of the response, or it can give you just a normal response that we're all seeing. So yes, it can. So that is where we have to be very concerned about what we're putting in these platforms as a district. We can't stop students from doing it on their own devices, but we can put in roadblocks on our devices for them to not utilize that. Absolutely.
And totally different side is AI is out there and it's going to be used in business and everything. So the other side of it is, don't we need to equip people to utilize AI?
Absolutely. 100%. But we need to tell them the ethical and responsible way to do it while they're in school, so that they're prepared at the university level. I have 2 daughters in school right now. I kind of ask them, hey, what do your teachers and professors say? Nothing. So they're kind of, okay, I guess we can use it, Dad. Okay, just be careful. So
We also
just have to be careful.
Yes, be very careful. And we also had some feedback from one of our parents who works with Cal State San Bernardino and how they kind of were opening up the AI use before they were ready. And really emphasize is also a parent in our LCAP meetings, the importance of making sure you go through this process of saying what is safe, what is not, and giving the tools to our students, to our families, and to our staff of, you know, when it's safe, when it's not, but give them the tools to work through it. Because they, you know, they did share some experiences at Cal State where it went awry. I'm going to that.
So at a meeting I went to, one of the presenters said AI can be confidently wrong. So we have to remember that.
That's
Right.
lots of flying, yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion, questions? Dr. Sevilla?
One comment, you know, we have, I attended a legal, workshop around AI and what districts should do and exactly, to describe exactly what we should do. Look at a broad policy and then put everything in terms of guardrails in your technology use. But trying to develop a board policy that captures everything is going to be changing every few months as AI becomes, you know, much more, you know, robust. So I think we're following the legal guidance we received and the CSBA policy is what they recommend.
Which seems to make sense then is also continually having follow-up.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, thank you guys. I appreciate all the time and effort in doing this. So moving on to 9.6, educational services, presentation of the Mountain High School MHS site data highlights and WASH report for the 2025-2026 school year. Is this going to include RBA? Because is this including RBA? Because I got RBA in my.
Including RBA too, yeah.
All right, thank you. So this will also include Burn Virtual Academy.
Yes.
1 minute, let me pull that up real quick.
Thank you.
One minute.
Would you like me to share with you, Mark?
It's in our board docs.
Yes, but those are the PDFs. Give me a sec. Sorry about it.
Yay! It looks beautiful. Right?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So just for reference, AI acknowledgement here, my presentation here, just to reference everything is baseline of the work that I've done, and it's really awesome. And how we can do it, you can just click a Beautify tab, and it will create a presentation that really looks pristine and all those things there. So just acknowledge on that piece there too, and kind of will just share that a little bit on that piece as well. So as alternative education specialist for RBA Mountain, alternative education means alternative ways of students learning and ways and how they're going about that. So in the presentation too, I can talk a little bit about AI usage and the proper association of it too. So, but with that said, Jeremy Montiel, alternative education specialist for RBA and Mountain for second year here. And I'm really excited to have first round of now both baseline and interventional data to speak upon from last school year. Alternative ed in general holds a special place in our district and an important purpose as well. There are students that have many inhibitors to their, academic successes, whether it's academically, socially, behaviorally, emotionally. And a special place for me as well, just coming from a school counseling background, just seeing the signs and symptoms of students who are finding success, yet to find success, and having a growth mindset and areas of opportunity to focus on there. And a quote that I always go back to with students at Mountain RVA is it's a beautiful quote by Maya Angelou. She says, people forget, what you say and what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And at times it's such a core focus that we focus on with our students, especially when we confront them on maybe areas of, falling behind on credits, reconstructing their reputations and things of those natures there. All right, so for our mission vision statement, starting here first with RVA. So RIM Virtual Academy serves K through 12 for a full academic school year. So RVA in itself, in a nutshell, is a school that has students with 100% that utilize long-term independent study. So our students are all ensuring that they are college, career, and community ready by equipping students virtually and in person for success by delivering highly effective digital learning through a course-based online platform. And inspired to produce critical thinkers will contribute successfully to the global society. And vision statement here is saying RIM Virtual Academy, Mountain community dedicated to ensuring each student achieves academic and individual excellence, engaging them with a rich, meaningful course-based program for becoming lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and responsible citizens. And in a nutshell as well here, it's blending virtual instruction with the credentialed RIM World School District teachers that we have with the softwares that we use, so Edgeunity and other platforms there too. All right, so for RVA's demographics, so as of today's date here, we have currently 141 students enrolled. It's an increase of 58% since the start of this school year. And one of the key areas with RVA is that we do see a huge fluctuations with the numbers. So we did start with lower numbers, significantly lower. And so when we see the growth of 58%, it's definitely a win, absolutely. But I think that is just a general trend now seen in the second year here. Out of district transfers seem to be consistent from presentation from this time last year to this year as well. We've seen an additional 10% increase from out of district transfers. So we are seeing from charter schools, we're seeing from down the mountain as well, from Hesperia and Yucaipa as well in the main areas there. And then since the last school year this time, we have seen an increase of 8%. With RVA, we've had a 5th teacher now that's been able to support us with our numbers. So there has not been a waiting list, which has been really great. We're getting very close to being at capacity there, but the numbers just changed significantly. March's numbers alone, we've seen quite an increase from just the past 12 days we've been in this month here. And just seeing those trends, 80% come from RIM High School, about a good portion from MPH, but also elementary too. Usually it's about mid-semester that we see these trends here as well. In terms of the numbers, we do have 2 designated elementary school teachers. So we have TK through 3rd, currently with 16 students with a 7% increase from March of last year. 4th and 5th, we have 18 students, a 9% increase. For 6th through 8th, we have 36 students currently, 9th through 10th, 37 students, and that is our cap right now for that grade level there. And 11 through 12, 35 students with a 6% increase in March. So really seeing a huge influx of students coming in from the high school levels and secondary in general there. All right, so for RVA, our SIPSA goal 1 is to increase student learning and support professional development. What's really exciting about these numbers is that we've done a lot of catching up. Here for our English, our ELA and math, we see quite a huge point increase in those areas there, but we do still have a ways to go in catching up to be at the state standard there. Also for EL learners, one challenge that all of both Mountain and RVA face is that having enough students to have determinable data. So some of our student groups are going to be undefined on California dashboard if there's 11 or less students that will be supporting those areas there. So we'll see more for Mountain High School where those numbers are indeterminable, but for RVA, we do have a bit of data there. But our main focus is student success, teacher development, and positive assessment culture. So from strategic takeaways we have, Edgeunity has been very supportive. Live tutoring does utilize and blend AI with also having a certified teacher that helps to support students during that time. So our RVA teachers, they do have office hours where students can pop in and have that individualized instruction and support in tutoring ways, but also the live tutoring helps to bridge the gap. So if it's 7 o'clock at night, student wishing to continue to work, they're stuck on a slide on Pythagorean's theorem, they can't quite figure it out, so they'll be able to get through it there. And then also a traditional model has been really effective for us. So traditional versus course-based means that our students in elementary are following a 230 minutes per school day model, and our secondary have the full 4 hours and 240 minutes. Our best practice is between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. that they're doing those times there. And we've seen success as Edgenuity has the live tutoring supports during those times as well. And our year-round model as well has been helping us for enrollment focus. It helps the students have more time in RBA. It focuses more on our iReady test scores that we have, CAS data, the performances that we're seeing with our students, versus being more intra-MBA where they're going back and forth maybe after a few weeks to be in an independent study program. Also too, for collaboration continuous improvement, PLC has been a big area of opportunity for REA. I think the biggest areas that we do see here is looking at the data. Without data, we're just a person with an opinion, and looking at what authentic data we have to look in those pieces there. So really just pushing in the areas of saying, hey, these are our California dashboard numbers. Math, we have a ways to go. ELA, we have a ways to go as well. And it's really just focusing on those areas. But we did see a win, which is 76% jump in ELA, about 54% increase in math. So things have been great. So celebrating those, but also as well ensuring what areas of opportunity exist for us to keep going with that. We did attend the DLAC conference in February. It's kind of the perfect storm, literally. We had the whole week off here from the snow week here. So myself and Mrs. Brainy flew to Sacramento, and we had a really great time there. Connected and collaborated with a lot of Inland Empire virtual schools and also some of our competitors too, which is great. Got a chance to meet one of the school principals that will actually be leading our WASC accreditation that will be happening next May 2027, which will be exciting for that. Also too, wanted to share a little bit more about the authentic time that students spend on Edgenuity. Jordan, I know you mentioned about how do we track students and what work are they authentically creating through AI. And a piece there is that if on this slide here, for example, a student's just speeding through and they just get all the answers correctly, Edgenuity does track the authentic time. So if it is 4 hours worth of work and the student is online for 7 hours, but they went through everything very quickly, or they're just idling on the screen. So they just, hit a key every 30 seconds to keep their screen on, for example, it will track that. And that's what's really great is it helps to have those courageous conversations with the parents and also backing it up with data to say, this is what we do see as a trend for your student and how can we overcome those barriers as well. All righty. Also too, for increasing our student support and professional development for graduation rates, I'm really excited to share that we went from an 86.2 to a 96.7 graduation rate increase there. So we had about nearly 9% increase. Very, very excited for those pieces there. Some of the key wins I would share on that is our transfer windows that we saw last school year has been very effective. So transfer windows include having students, once it's past spring break, meet with administration to figure out what is the reasons behind the transfer and why, to protect what we call the academic integrity of the GPA. So when students transfer over to us, that transfer grade follows. It's a solid set score. They don't have the ability to make up any missing assignments or any agreements with the teacher to help to support that. So they have enough time to make sure that they can bring up those grades. So if John Doe comes over with a 55% and it's 2 weeks left of the school year, John Doe is probably not going to make it to get that grade passing in there. But if they come over with enough time, they'll have those supports. And also too, as the incredible Mark Malone mentioned, for our district's tech responsible use and artificial intelligence policy, it is opting in for all of our RBA students to make sure that that is signed up. So they are opting in for tech materials and responsible use of AI. So when it comes to the classwork and homework, the main key focus is that we're using it to enhance and to soundboard the creativity that our students are doing, not to replace the work that they're doing. And also too, it's key to also identifying the science of AI, calling it out, but also to showing students how to use it ethically as a tool. So for example, do not have the time to make my PowerPoint presentation look awesome and incredible as this. There is a button that says beautify my slide, and I did that there. So one key area is that teachers will show our secondary students how to do that there. So it had the base material and the data here, and then from that added the incredible images there for it. So showing students how to use that effectively can help enhance and soundboard off of their creativity for it, but not to say, produce to me graduation rates for RBA in time for tonight's presentation. So it's making sure that we have the ethical pieces on this too. In terms of A through G completion rates for our SIPSA Goal 1, this is one of the biggest challenges that we do see because the authentic snapshot student data has to have at least 11 or more students for able to track in those areas there. So we do follow the same model as all comprehensive schools like RIM High School as well. The challenge comes into identifying the students in those areas there. But A through G requirements follow similarly as they do with RIM High School or any other comprehensive school site. We make sure that it is 220 credits for graduation, all in the core essential areas, making sure that they're eligible to graduate, go to 2 to 4 year state college and universities, trade school, military. But if any indicator of data is there, the 9% grad rate increase, I imagine would suggest a positive trend to the increase of students who are falling through H through G completion there. As for Mountain High School, very similar to RVA, but in the sense of a credit recovery program at school. So our mission statement, students discover, develop their unique talents and interests, becoming empowered learners, engaged citizens, positively impact local and global communities. And for the vision statement there, that in a nutshell is just sharing that students, regardless of where they come at credit-wise, they can aim to promote positive academic, social, emotional behaviors and to support them to be able to get into those level entry jobs or as a warm handoff into remedial ed that we now have in our district starting this school year. In terms of demographics, our school at Mountain High School, adjacent right there with RIM High School, holds up to 50 students max. And we do have a fluctuation in numbers there too. We did start off with 24 students at the beginning of the school year in August. We did increase up to 42. We have currently one 10th grader, going to be 2 very soon. We have 16 11th graders and about 27 12th graders currently with us. And in the second and third charts here, we can see the average credits earned every credit check, which would be every 6 months, or every 6 weeks, which there are 6 credit checks in a given school year. Seeing the metrics here, what's really interesting is that it follows very closely what we saw last year, where you'll see a huge influx or increase starting credit check 4. The students realize, I have a few months, I have to graduate. How on earth am I going to do that? Hopefully not by using AI to cheat, but making sure that, sometimes a student will go from 2 to 22 credits. Not joking. And that literally happened in credit check 4 here, not to give out particular more details on that. But the main area there is to celebrate the effort that's going into it, but also being able to identify and say, hey, if that's all earned on ingenuity and not during the live instructional piece, let's explore this a little bit more. Can we reproduce this work in a project or presentation? Can we reiterate what we're saying? Or in fact, even, read what we have written in this certain assignment there. For Mountain SIPSA Goal 1, again, increase student learning and support professional development. We can see here in California dashboard, again, it's indeterminable data just because we have 11 or less students in many of those key domain points there. But some key takeaways that we can speak to is that we do follow a different ed code. So instead of 220, we follow 200 credits, which helps us to have a pass or no pass versus a GPA. So our students here, they do earn 70% or more, which shows that they showed mastery in passing those classes. And as soon as they earn that, passing that credit, they go right into the next course. It's not waiting for the typical, the semester to end to go from those pieces there. So what a student can earn roughly 60 credits every school year, 30 per semester, they can earn pretty much an indefinite amount, up to 20 in person in classes, and indefinite amount through Edgenuity. But we do try to baseline and kind of say it's a marathon, not a sprint. So if the student's going from 2 to 22 credits and they're going to increase that exponentially, we want to explore, how do we have that fire, so to speak, throughout the time that they're here. Also, too, the alternative student population. The biggest thing I have seen now in my second year at Mountain High School is that we are really trying to reconstruct the reputation. We are not a behavior school. We are not a school that we are stipulated expulsions. Yes, we may have those at times. We're not the school that, is the students are just going to go right to adult ed because they'll not graduate. We're not the school that we, get a student in, the 11th hour and say, oh, here, go to Mountain because that's your best chance of making it. what's really exciting is that when we help to support and lift our students, it really does help in those areas. I'm happy to share that since November, we have not had any suspensions. Knock on wood, I hope I just didn't jinx it right now. We have one starting next week, but it's a kumbaya, so to speak, with Mountain every year. We first 3 months, it's a come to Jesus meet for sure with the students, and then eventually we work it out. We talk it out. It's behind kindness is accountability for sure. And from there, they learn that we're here to help support them, and we lead from the middle, which is one of the things here that we really try to push for. All righty, so for our essential standards, we've had the honor working with a solution tree now for our second year. Through our CSI funds, we have been utilizing our agent, Sarah Scholl. That's been incredible to help our school really help to get those essential standards in place for all of our students. So behind the standard is the skill that they're learning and reinforcing that skill and ensuring that an I can statement, a positive affirmation can be given on something there. So I can speak to the general facts of the Industrial Revolution versus saying, I have no clue what the Industrial Revolution is. It also helps us too, no matter which adult is working with that student, whether school counselor or another fellow teacher, they can see where those students are at and helping to support them and say, okay, well, we know the general facts, but what more can we get to earn those credit pieces there? And our proficiency mapping too, we have worked specifically with Solution Tree to ensure that our path looks different as an alternative school versus a comprehensive school. So our 6 weeks per credit check means that how are our classes designed to ensure that our students are getting the materials that they need? How do we ensure that they're passing in classes? And why are we doing this course first versus another one here? So that we're using that data to baseline and intervene with our students there. And apologies, this slide here is very, very hard to see. Just trying to think of ways of how to zoom in on here, but just know that the first of the 2 images here, this is a screenshot of one of our math teachers here at Mountain High School, and this is the essential standards that she has here. She has hyperlinks to a one-stop shop for all of the standards, including the I can statements that are needed for the students. We do utilize a Likert scale, so it lets the students know and have reflection of their own school or of their own standards and say, okay, I kind of sort of get this, I have no clue, or I have a general grasp it, I'm ready to take a test to get ready for it. So our teachers here will utilize the essential standards and work on the proficiency mapping here. And at the bottom, just imagine if you had really good vision or magnifying glass, you could see here the proficiency mapping of what standards are being tackled and why for those there. And we can individualize this depending on the graduating class. So the class of 2027 might look different than the class of 2026 or the future class of 2028 too. So utilizing this data to really ensure that we can really proactively approach our standards and classes that would meet the needs of our students in a more comprehensive way.
Can I add something to your last slide? Sorry, just briefly. I know you probably need your readers. I think Peter Ross told us that last time to be able to see this slide. But if you actually look at this Google sheet, there are so many clickable links where they've built learning progression, student tracking of the mastery of standards. There's a lot of work that has gone into this, the work with Solution Tree. So just wanted to again commend that work and emphasize it, since it's kind of hard to see on there, but it is literally mapped out all of their standards, and they've been working really hard.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Whiteside. It's a huge testament to the teachers as well. It was first a bit of a buy-in to say, why is this effective, and really ensuring that let's just give this a try. Based in data, it's showing that this is effective, and it's been really great to see this work. So this has been the work of all last year and also concluding in fall semester. Now we're really implementing this in spring semester here. Alrighty, a little bit more on Solution Tree as well. It's also been effective for us is that we've had a credit check student reflection. So our students in these pieces here, we can speak to them on their I can statements with the Likert scale, and it's part of their built-in classes. We have a CBI, which is computer-based instruction course during 5th period for them, where they have that reflection to say, hey, where am I at with my credits? How far away am I close to finishing my marathon, so to speak, of 200 credits? And then from there, they're able to use that information in our real talk sessions. So again, students are focused on having ownership of where they stand and being able to use that information to, say, already I am working over the weekend to catch up to graduate on time, or I can pace myself more because I have earned credits at a steady, sustainable pace. And also too, with the real talk sessions, it's really been great with it. I'll go to the next slide. You can kind of see here at the bottom right. We work on a SMART goal. So a goal that's specific, measurable, attainable, all those areas there. And it's very student focused. On the chart here, students are actively engaged and called out, to be honest, to ensure that they're getting feedback there. So they'll say things that the weather's cold, I'm tired, I don't want to be here first period. It's really early to get here at 7 o'clock in the morning, or I missed the bus. Or dealing with the heartbreak and I don't want to come to school and I want to go on LTIS. And it's really great to see that information because some of the information on the charts there, I wish I had a chance to really capture on those pieces there. It really gives like an inside look to the underlying concerns where students have and really focus on the SEL components. But it really helps to celebrate the students. For students who've earned 12 or more credits, they do get that ability there to have a certificate and chance of winning prizes as well too. So again, just wanted us to share that our Mountain graduation rates, it reflects our alternative instruction model and adheres to our board policies to ensure that it's 200 credits versus the 220. At times when we see for our students and how they are doing, they feel very defeated. And at times it's how we're selling it. We have a one chance to make a first impression on our students when they do come over to Mountain. From there, make it break. And by break, it means chronic absenteeism. SART and SART reports of producing chronically. Mountain, currently struggles and will continue to struggle with chronic absenteeism. But how to overcome that is the approach and the way that we're helping them to see, okay, I can attain these goals. So seeing on metrics here, we have seen an increase. I'm happy to share from last school year, we've seen a huge increase there for our EL learners. Low income, some of the highest that we've seen in the past few years here.
And this is the graduation rate, not A through G, correct?
Graduation rates, yes.
Okay, that's a huge jump.
Yes.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, very, very excited for that there. And for the next slide here, I think this is one of my favorites is, yes, we can see graduation rate increased about 14%, but that metric there is right in that picture at the bottom left. You can't help but feel for the Mountain students where at times they feel forgotten, the ghost students perhaps, the potentially rejects, so to speak, the students that would not be able to graduate without that right touch, that without that ability to say, hey, I'm here to share space with you, listen non-judgmentally, being present and focusing on the grit and resilience that's needed for them. We are not here to sugarcoat it for them. We are here to really ensure that they know where they stand and going through that there. So that picture there is just from last school year, right before we did our graduation ceremony, and just seeing the number of students there at the 13.1% there. It makes me smile, but that picture there is what makes me smile the most.
What I want to add is for anybody who hasn't attended Mountain High's graduation, it is one of the best events in the school district every year. I think all of us are bawling by the end of it. It's so emotional, the excitement, the pride, students sitting up on stage at the PAC, and just they know that they've really accomplished something, and the families are so proud. If you haven't been there, you gotta go. Absolutely gotta go. Anybody listening in, you gotta make it a priority.
Absolutely, and it's very hard to not get emotional because you'll see the students as you shake their hands, they are crying, or they will literally be, I cannot believe I made it here. And it's really touching. Yeah, it's special. Alrighty, for our goal 2 here, aligned with RVA and Mountain, we have our facilitating a safe and positive school climate for our campus here. One of the first things I'll share is that SEL is not another item added to the school's plate. It is the plate. It's everything we base ourselves off of. A student who does not want to attend school has underlying concerns. From attendance, just good old fashioned giving them a call, letting the families know, hey, I'm calling for nothing more to say I'm proud your student to show up at their school. Sometimes it's the reputation that the students might have, or the perception of, oh, the school's calling, I'm not going to answer. What did my kid do now? To the positive affirmations that we're sharing. It's a quick phone call. I try to schedule it out on Fridays from 3 to 3:30, just a quick phone call, whether it's a voicemail or being able to touch base with parents. It is a quick 1 to 2 minute, and a lot of them will just say, thanks for making my day. Or just the ability then to see when we're having our iReady testing or CAS test scores, we've seen that it's been positive to help to support students from taking the test, taking it seriously. We see a reduction in students from not having a red flag, from doing the, rushing through, or just not showing up altogether for those pieces there. And also too, we've had our wellness center, which has been really great. It's been supportive through our equity multiplier, one of our funding sources from high school. It's been great. We've had someone on campus Monday through Friday to give supports for our students. And also with other funds in CSI as well, we're also utilizing youth mental health first aid. Joking, I call it a YMCA. Everyone's like, what on earth is that? It helps for the signs and symptoms of youth facing mental health challenges. So Mrs. Mills, our incredible school counselor from Mountain High School, is going to be trained into supporting and to be able to help students with fellow peers how to reach out for signs and symptoms of students in distress if they share, big feelings or self-harming themselves or others, how to approach that, how to de-escalate those situations without, telling them to calm down, which I know, this is the last thing you want to tell somebody when they're angry is to calm down. They will just say, well, I'm calm, you need to calm down in those areas there. But also too, a decline in suspension and or a decrease in chronic absenteeism. You see it does correlate there and it helps to support with the training. So this is coming in April and in May for our Mountain High School community and also for families too for those areas. All right, and then for our goal 3 engaged family communities, you can just see here, just seeing the warmth of our students here in class. Hard to see from the pictures here, but just know that our student population is it's a very warm one. If you have a chance to come on Mountain High School campus, it is very different from maybe the preconceived reputation of what Mountain students would be like. Everyone is engaged. We have pictures of students in our wellness center, in classrooms learning, esports for students eligible on track for graduation, to other areas and pictures there with our staff and team there too. And for RVA as well, it's been really great to see a lot of areas of students who may be dealing with rumors, bullying, and gossip, and how to manage those areas and may find a safe haven in RVA, whether they're here for years to come or for just a little bit of time, whether for just the remainder of the school year. It's great to see the engagement pieces from our social and mixer events that we do monthly on those to the live instruction. I want to call out Mrs. Lewis at the top left here. That's a prime example of live instruction, which is a standardized practice K-12, ensuring our students are having their cameras on, engaged, and in the learning pieces there. And also for WASC as well, I want to share for RVA, our visit is going to be May 10th through 12th in 2027. It will be our self-study visit. And for Mountain High School, we are currently getting a date for this, but this will be October of 2026 coming up later on this year, but next school year. And this will be a mid-cycle, and we'll get that date to be announced. And how we're preparing for this here is we're continuously reviewing and updating curriculum, utilizing supports from Solution Tree, ensuring that our data can really match the engagement pieces that we're seeing on campus, making sure all our T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and making sure that we're ready for the visit there. That is it for me. Thank you guys very, very much. Any questions for Rania?
Thank you so much. And I love your beautifying. I'm gonna have to start doing that. That's really awesome. And I love the mixers. I love the fact that the Mountain High School students the seniors get credit for community service, working with the RVA students. I think that's adorable. So
absolutely,
it's great.
And Jeremy, thank you again, but you really are seeing the correlation between the wellness center and how students are being successful, not being suspended, all that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really great to see SCL is the plate that they network in this series.
Anything else? Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Right. Next. Sorry, we have 9.7 educational services, presentation of the annual Title I intervention and support / fosters youth / low socioeconomic status SES report for the 25-26 school year. This is Whiteside. Yay. You see your lovely face again.
Well, good evening again. Thank you again for the opportunity. And I don't know if you like how I did throw our room logo into AI and gave it a St. Patrick's Day theme. So that's a quite a cool at the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. It also goes with our theme of tomorrow. We have our Certificated Professional Development Day tomorrow. And our theme is Lucky to Learn and Lead Together. And there will be popsicle throughout the Run High School. So, all right, Title I report and presentation. Essentially, each year we give you this presentation and update to kind of share with you where we are with transparency and accountability. And you can see that I've beautified this slide with AI, right? You click the little piece at the bottom. And it again just tells you those components. I like how Jeremy said in one of his quotes earlier, behind kindness is accountability. Well stated. I think that represents Title I, right? All of the things that we are doing to try to support our students, but there's also an accountability component behind that to make sure that we're measuring, we're monitoring, and we're improving our plans as we go. In terms of purpose goal, what is our purpose? Our purpose is our students and opening doors for every learner. We have, I pulled the students served, I think earlier this week, so we're at about 2956 as a total enrollment. So Title I schools, we've got 7, and there are 7 total. You can see our percentages at the bottom there, and you can actually go by school and see what our percentages are for Title I. So kind of ranging on average in the low 60s, but you can see again, as Jeremy did share, Mountain High School is an equity multiplier school, and they are over 70% and then 25% in the transiency rate. But kind of looking at our percentages there. How are students served? So throughout the slides, you're going to see an update kind of similar to the student board rep, where each school has a slide to share with you how do they spend their Title I dollars to support students, and what are the major areas you're going to see: academic supports and interventions through instructional resources, training, professional development. You'll also see MTSS, our multiple tiered systems of support there. Family engagement is another one. And of course, at the bottom, we always remind that as we look at each of these, we look at compliance and accountability to make sure that we are remaining within our planning requirements. In previous presentations, you have seen me share the dashboard, CASP, LPAC, all of the things. Just thought I'd share that quick clip at the bottom there that indicates we are back on an upward trajectory in English, math, science, and the LB. So our trends are on the upward trajectory. And really the pictures I chose for that slide, it's the staff behind the work that happens for our students. And that really encapsulates Title I, right? What our people are doing to invest in our students to see that growth. In educational services, our Title I is really broken up into, you hear iReady frequently. That's our diagnostic of identifying English and math proficiency. Our most recent diagnostic had about 71% in reading and 50% in math, and that is we saw a significant growth from the beginning of the year to the mid-year point, and then we'll have a third point, which actually is coming up in late March, where we'll take another diagnostic right before CASP as an indicator and a predictor for where they will be. So that's the academic and intervention component. Going to that second row, also tailoring into our academic, our instructional coaches working very hard to support the development of our guaranteed and viable curriculum. We just launched the CDAs within the last 2 weeks, so our common district assessments, quarterly and trimesterally, and that great work would not have happened without the many GDC days that our TOSAs have spent with grade level and department teams to identify their standards, pace those standards, and develop the assessments that we're currently implementing. We're also in a revision process. So as we're implementing those assessments, we're working with our teams to identify where standards or assessments might need to be revised. Also in that column, you'll see, in that row, you'll see the mental health support. And that is our elementary counselor, going to all 3 of our elementary sites. And as we identify student needs, we want to make sure that we can meet those areas of need, even with our elementary students. That bottom one there, Avant, that is a platform. It's another piece that is paid for with Title I from Ed Services. That is to support the seal of biliteracy assessment. And so our students working towards that seal of biliteracy have to demonstrate, high school graduation, English proficiency, and then a language proficiency. And Avant gives us the ability to do that. Looking at our last year's LCAP data, we don't have the seal data yet for this year, but 15 students are in that state seal of biliteracy. Continuing with ed services, parent engagement is another key component, and so you'll see out of ed services, we take care of Aries Parent Square. And then Kelvin and Cure Solace, we got a little help for a couple of years with Learning Recovery Block Grant, but they'll kind of filter in and out with Title I. So I do have to keep those indicated there. And I know you've seen the data points recently in a previous presentation. Then added something we continue to support at the district level. We have a section each, one at MPH and one at Rim High, that is supported with district Title I funds. Last year, 93% of AVID students were accepted into a four-year university. So we continue to see that success in AVID. All right, as you look at the each of the slides for the schools, you can really see how they highlight academics and intervention. All three of our elementary schools have been working hard, as you heard in our last board meeting on universal access, identifying students and meeting them at the area of their need. And so when you see things like the Title I aide, the Title I coordinator, even your interventions or your MTSS team, they're really looking at the tiered interventions and support. So looking at CHE first, you see that reference there. That next one, Swiss, has actually been replaced with Panorama. So if you're familiar with PBIS and Swiss data in the past, we no longer need it because that's wrapped up in our Panorama data. And then of course, you'll see parent engagement. So that one wraps up CHE. For LAE, we know they've been working hard with Leader and Me with that professional consulting, working with their teams, identifying their goals. And working with students, again, that's the support that they provide by setting those wildly important goals. Am I saying that right? There we go. I've got the weights on. And from there, they have these comprehensive folders where they're going through and they're seeing, the data points in terms of growth. They have their EL support reference, their MTSS support teams and intervention. Again, similarly looking on their UA. Looking at their positive behavior intervention support, also wrapped into Leader and Me, and then what you'll see as a common theme is parent engagement. Going to our last elementary there, again, interventions and enrichment there. Lexia and RAS are both software components that are going to help with both literacy and math intervention. They're utilized also through their universal access program. So you're hearing a theme here with Title I. Intervention, academic support, making sure you have certificated and classified support in terms of those resources, and differentiating that support as they go. So lots of early literacy listed there, lots of intervention, and then of course their community nights. The ways that our schools bring in our families and communities and make them feel valued members. Things like our EL parent engagement night, either at the high school where we did all schools together, or individually. I believe CHE just did an EL parent night. I think that was Tuesday, right? And it was Wednesday, pretty highly attended. I know it was, yeah. And so really a lot of really great feedback from that night. And as we see a growing population of support for our EL students, they see that area of need and they're creating those parent engagement nights there. MPH continues to focus on AVID, seeing that success and that pathway of AVID going from MPH all the way to the high school. We heard a little bit about that college trip that happens at the high school, and how they support the AVID tutorials, note-taking strategies, what we used to call Cornell notes, double column notes, however you want to reference that. But also those strategies, the binder checks, shaking it, making sure nothing falls out. But all those resources associated with AVID, the implementation fee annually. They also continue to work on their PBIS, MTSS, or MDMTSS. MPH adds that extra layer where they indicate the multi-dimensional, multi-tiered systems of support. There are layers on the top layers. And then their parent engagement nights. And I believe they have a parent engagement night coming up. It's, I think, new to MPH, a science night on March 25th. All right. Okay. That's middle school on the mountain. There it is. 28. Sorry. This is 25th. All right. All right. Good job. All right. RHS, again, we've got that CASP support. Again, you're seeing intervention support. Delta Math is one of the platforms that they use there. It has been highly regarded. That second row there indicates all of their AVID support. And there's a lot that goes into AVID, not just the resources and the college trip, right? But the AVID tutors, the personnel associated with it and the sections that they fill. So again, you see that there, and then of course, the parent engagement and how they reach out to their families and community. Each one of our schools does a really great job of reaching out to their families and really meeting their specific communities at the point of their need, really to be commended there. RVA and Mountain, we just heard about all the amazing things they're doing there, but again, your theme there is looking at how they provide intervention on a virtual level or for continuous improvement through threat efficiency, how they incorporate youth mental health first aid, different professional development, social, emotional, to meet the students with those areas of need, and then of course their parent engagement. So I know you kind of go through those quickly, and the slides really do encompass what they're working on. But as an overall report, you see that theme of academics, intervention, MTSS, social emotional, as well as parent engagement, family and community.
Awesome, thank you, Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions, discussion? Yes.
I do have one question going back to ed services and socio-emotional related to Care Solace. Looking at the numbers, seeing that I understand from 90 to 2 inquiries received, so it means that the inquiries have really dropped, along with from 217 to 48 communications saved.
Absolutely, I'm glad you got that. That's actually something we're talking about with the counselors at Rim High. We are, number one, the first layer of that is the greatest point of support is our people, right? We always start with our counselors, they know our students best. But then from that, they go to our community layers, like mountain counseling and training, road family services. And we're finding that connection with the community on the mountain is more successful than some of the outside. So when you look at the layers of support, Care Solace tends to be one of the last ones. So as the years are going on, we're seeing less and less, and it's actually something that we're in review on. We're on a multi-year contract with that. That was actually an agenda item at our most recent counselor network. We have, I believe it's 1 more year on that contract, so we'll be reviewing overall our comprehensive supports and services and how that may or may not continue to support our needs.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, then we're going to go ahead. Thank you very much, and thank the principals for providing that information. I know it's worth your while. Thank you. So moving on to 9.8, which was added to the agenda. 9.8, business services, update of budget and enrollment, and second interim report by Jenny Haberlin, the business official.
Hello, thank you very much. And I didn't beautify my presentation, but I think I'll have to start using Google instead of Microsoft, which is a weakness for me, and they get on that. So although I did the transportation report, that's just on the consent item, I did beautify that one. So I for the first time I used it. So anyway, it was fun, and mine's not as pretty. So, but thank you. While this is getting started, I just wanted to share that this is our second interim financial report presentation. There is a agenda item to approve the second interim on the consent calendar, and it's standard state reporting due by March 15th of every year. Excuse me. Okay. Alrighty. All right. The purpose of the report, I think everybody really knows why we're here, why we have to do interim reporting, what they include. But just to touch base, it does include another opportunity to look at our enrollment, our attendance. We have the governor's January budget. We've changed any assumptions that were material there. We know our staffing's been hired. We have a good handle on our attendance rate. So it's really also, when you're working on this report, you're thinking budget development for the next year at the same time, because it's pretty status quo for the current year that we're in, unless there was something that caused a surprise. Okay, the district is filing a positive certification, which that means that we can fund our current and 2 subsequent year obligations. Okay, and we want to revisit enrollment and attendance real quickly, because it's our major driver in not only calculating our revenue, but calculating our staff. So, we talked about, staffing ratios with students, and, how that changes by grade level. And so really we need your solid, good projections on your enrollment. That creates an ADA rate, which we have a trend for the revenue side, but also this time of year, we're working hand in hand, Shannon and I, and cabinet on, what does that projected enrollment mean for next year's staffing. So just you have that in front of you for our enrollment and attendance. We are running at a 92% attendance rate right now. So just under 93 district-wide, and that's a cumulative number. We could having pockets that are higher than that, schools that are higher than that. But when you compile the entire district, we're at just over 92%. Okay. Our current, if you run current enrollment, I ran enrollment 2 days ago. You have to make sure that you not include concurrently enrolled students in 2 schools. An example of that is at the high school with students that are in both Mountain High's database and River High's database for the CTI program. But we've had this screen before. You can see our total enrollment by campus and by grade. And what we talked about, and this also plays into future staffing discussions, is looking at that enrollment and do we have a large class leaving and a small class coming up, or is it pretty steady? And you can see where we have, the current 11th grade class that is 226. And as that moves through the system, but after that, we're really around 200 in each grade span, until we get back to K and TK, although those aren't, compulsory programs. So do they bounce back in grades 1 or 2? So these numbers are also supported by an enrollment and capacity study that SchoolWorks worked with us on, and we still have some items there that we're working through and completing with them. And then looking at it for not only revenue, we look at it for staffing, but we also want to look at it on a facility basis. We want to look at how our enrollment for each school by grade, and what's that impact on our facilities, and what the facilities needs does that play into. I think I'm setting my allergies. Moving forward, you can see the trend. This is enrollment out of seabed state. That's an official census date, and you can see where we've had a pretty steady decline, pretty flat, and then relatively flat. There is showing very small declines in the future when supported by our own projections, and then the outside group who also did their projections. We were pretty much right on with each other, but showing a very modest decline, barring any type of event that we've seen in the past that drives people off our mountain or out of California. That's not just natural birth rate in class sizes. We saw that in the mid 2000s with gas prices, when as the costs for families to commute we've seen it with road issues when 330 was closed down for a year, and then Norton Air Force Base when that was in San Bernardino. There's been events that impact our enrollment that we would see a spike, but we don't, like we said in the architect presentation, we don't have a crystal ball and kind of know when all of those are going to happen. But there is showing, like every almost county in California, lower birth rates across every demographic. Okay, just a peek at COLA, because COLA also is used as a driver on our projected funding. And I want to just kind of be a broken record. We have to, when we talk about advocacy and when we talk about the base dollars, a COLA only environment is really a cut to schools. You know, it really is when you look at it, because the other costs that a district has that's supposed to cover, step and column, health and welfare increases, gas, electricity, wear and tear, maintenance on a building, all of those are paid for out of the same dollars. And so when you are having a COLA only on a constitutionally minimum that we're funded at, and even less, I had to explain the old deficit factor to someone today. It's like, well, at least we're getting a COLA. And I said, well, there's been years where we had negative COLA, so they call it a deficit factor, you know, so that has happened in our past. They're making maneuvers now in place of a deficit factor or a negative COLA. So, this is not considered that positive. It's not a cut. I'm going to give you that in a sense of a negative COLA, but it doesn't fully fund a year over year expenditures, us and other districts as well. And you can see that based on LCFF and enrollment. And now that there's a 3 test method of how we're funded, whether it's current year ADA or a 3-year look back of prior year ADA. So I guess 2, I think I said 3. And whichever is greater, that can also fluctuate on years that maybe we're artificially giving a little more money as a safety net, a hold harmless. So that year over year, when you think about things that go into added costs, we have years that the year over year amount is actually negative. So not only did we have to come up with the money to fund regular things like step and column and utilities, health and welfare, with actually less money. So, but I mean, you can see there is a positive trend. We're not in that situation moving forward right now. Perfect. Just got a picture, works to 1,000 words really on, the makeup of LCFF, that they say that 2013 award level. What that arrow means is when LCFF came into existence, they combined a lot of the categoricals. And so the equivalent of what those dollars were in 2012-13, which was also based loosely on like a 2007-8 buying power at the time. But so you think about, okay, if that was our award level, with LCF, the additional funds that might have come from that is, not that many more dollars for a district like ours. So they're still looking back at that 12-13 inception date and kind of comparing us to that on how we would have been under LCFF versus funded plus all the categoricals. It looks like the governor and the legislators kind of has an appetite for more categorical type spending instead of just putting it on the base, which might get us temporarily extra things or treated as one-time money for offsets. But unless it's an ongoing grant that we know about, that's 3, 5, 6 years, that means that we can't really commit an ongoing program or hire for that. Part of most of the focus, I think I just want to stay on the screen a little bit. So when I talked about what that COLA has to pay for, if you look at just what we've included in year over year cost to the district, and this one is going into 26-27. Step and column for all units is just under $500,000. We do have savings when our folks retire. Okay, so we budget for that. We have kind of shoring up some staffing based on enrollment. We have some one-time expenditures and revenue though that we've had so we have to actually reduce our other revenue, but we also have some expenditures that were one-time in nature in this budget. And then we had some obligations and positions that were previously funded with restricted dollars that, those funds expired, so we incorporate those into the general fund again, side of the budget. And then the increases to health and welfare. And the increase that we received for our renewal rates this year, and it's not just for RIM, it would be for everyone in our pool, and it's pretty standard across the state. Blue Shield increased by 12.99%. Kaiser increased 9.12, with some modest vision and dental increases of around 3%. So that year over year increase in cost to our budget is estimated to be about $616,000. That's a $409,000 change from the increase that we just talked about in December at first interim. So first interim, that increase into 26-27, we've now added $409,000 to that increase going into 26-27. So that compounds, because now we have, not only is that 409,000 ongoing, future increases that need to be budgeted for the following years, renewals are then calculated on a higher number. We have some minor savings in there that we from our first interim budget solvency, our fiscal solvency resolution. So I wanted to just kind of pause before I go to the next screen a little bit, just to see if you have any questions on this. Or I know we've talked about it, we've put it in updates before, so.
Does anybody have any questions about this amazing 12% increase in insurance? Except that we need a paper bag and him hyperventilate into it.
They caught me from under my desk. I think I was gonna pass out,
There
so.
you go. Okay, so we're all on the same page.
We're all on the
All
same
right.
page.
Nope,
There's
we can move on.
been some sleepless nights over
Oh,
it.
Okay,
Just other administrative changes, that last 166,000, is that additional cost to us
No,
or is
that's a
that savings?
savings, and that was the action you previously took today. Okay, wanted to put the year over, because I was been fixated a little bit on the health and welfare. This is like I dumped this into Excel. I'll have to maybe beautify it too, on the actual health and welfare costs since, let's see, what year did I pick? 2021, and you can see how it's been, going higher every year, and by bargaining unit, or actually by class of employee, not by bargaining unit. And that would be certificated, so it would include management and teachers. Classified would include classified management and support staff. And then our retiree insurance, and a cash in lieu, which we do offer our active employees that would have the and certificated retirees, a cash payment in lieu of taking our insurance. So you can, that's a pretty steady number because it's capped. It doesn't get an increase. We're actually at our JPA maximum that we're allowed to offer. So and the purpose behind that is the pool, it's a blind pool. They don't really want a lot of opt-outs comparative to their members, because they want some of those healthy young people to be insured and keep utilization down. So. Okay, have this slide in every time. You can see we're starting to get a little relief on PERS increases year over year. This is a change from first interim. Okay, and we start into our 25-26 working budget. Very minor changes as we move forward from our revenue expenditures down to the fund balance. So highlighted the percent of our budget. Now this is total budget and total expenditures. So the one-time use of funds for non-personnel on the restricted side, it does sometimes skew this calculation. You can see that we spend 73% of our budget on staff and payroll costs, but how that's really on a fiscal solvency viewpoint, they take total salaries, total costs, and divide that by actually just your unrestricted revenue, which puts the districts into the high 80s, low 90s percent. So when you see a county letter that has that 86 to 92% at any different year, it's because they view it not necessarily, without the restricted components. This is our fund balance, and this is just the same dollar amount on the unrestricted side, but in more detail. You can see that what makes up our reserves. Graph of the same information, but moving forward, and graph of our deficit spending. You can see our unrestricted revenue versus our unrestricted costs. So and that disparity between the two. Our total budget, I to go really fast, but we've talked a lot about this before. So ongoing and major concerns, we still have a concern with the high special ed costs in the state of California. Our district, similar to every district in California, with the escalating costs, the escalating number of students that are being identified, and the impact to districts, that funds the contribution out of their base dollars. Increasing health and welfare costs, relatively flat enrollment. We still are struggling with an 88% attendance rate. There is an expectation we can have some reduced COLAs. This is a big impact for REM in the current or subsequent year, but our third year, if the state keeps having deferrals, we need to watch our cash flow a little bit closely. We've always been in a good position with cash. And then just the pension obligations, that is really a broken record, and it's we have to really look at and address the current impact of the change in health and welfare. That's a significant change from one interim reporting to another, and how to work through that with the budget. And basically status quo on just monitoring the budget, working with personnel on staffing for next year. And as we start also working with Ed Services on developing the 26-27 budget. This wasn't my slide, it's school services, but you can kind of see the timeline for people that don't know kind of where we're at. We talked about the May revise, and that will around May 15th, May 10th, May 15th, we'll start getting working on that, and then the legislation, the governor will really start negotiating, and then approve the state budget. And then due to the fact they usually approve it without the trailer bills because they don't want their paychecks to get impacted, then working all summer and into the fall on that trailer bill language.
And does anybody have any questions? We all have concerns about the insurance hike. Anything for the good of the order? No? Okay, thank you, Jenny, as always. And I like that song, that broken record, going over and over. So you put that on a record player.
Okay, it's sleep sounds.
It's sleep sounds. Okay, so moving on, 10.0 discussion information items, 10.1, the legislative and advocacy report. I'm going to be super mindful of time since it's 8:35. So real quick, in Sandag's, a big part of the discussion with capital advisors, which is our lobbyists for the county, is the budget. That right now is the biggest point of contention, that $5.6 billion, as Dr. Saviano has already discussed. AXA, CTA, and CSBA are lockstep in pushing back on this. The revenue numbers for the state of California are coming in higher than expected. Last month was a little bit of a dip, but the whole entire fiscal year is above projections. So the LAO has scored the $4 billion of overall money going to that as being something that could be put onto ongoing money. So out of the education budget that we've received, the LAO is saying, you know what? $4 billion more can be put onto ongoing expenses, meaning the base. Okay? The governor is like playing super conservative because maybe he's saying, okay, yes, we do have projections that are above what we were saying, but there's warnings, there's red flags, the AI bubble, the tariffs, all of these different things that we think we should be a little bit concerned, and that is my justification for holding back that $6.6 billion. But the LAO is saying, yeah, but you can put $4 billion more, at least $1 billion more, and still be conservative. And if you translate $1 billion, that's 1% more on the COLA. That's what it translates. So having that information and going forward, the LAO is behind us getting more money. That $5.6 billion is a little too conservative. And he should, so it'll be interesting between now and the May revise, how the governor stays in this stance of $5.6 billion. The numbers just don't support his position. Then the other part is the COLA, like Ginny has said and everybody has said, it's set by some other factors that we're not in control of. It doesn't really reflect education expenditures, and it does not really reflect the realities of declining enrollment in the state of California. And so part of this issue in this discussion of COLA is we have to address declining enrollment as a state, not just as a district, but as a state. Because COLA really, after you adjust for everything, is less than 1%. So we can sit here and say we have a 2.3%, 2.4% COLA, but when you actually adjust it, it is less than 1%. And so it was really interesting to set in the conversation, instead of having that Prop 98 still grows no matter what, per constitutional and per the formula. But going downwards is declining enrollment for the state. So the biggest question is, where is this money going? Where's the discrepancy? Where's that gap? Where is it going? And so what the discussion is, he's created categorical funds and new programs instead of mitigating declining enrollment and building up the per pupil expenditure that would mitigate those costs associated with declining enrollment. Because we still have kids to pick up at certain bus stops. And yes, maybe years ago, there were 60 kids on that bus, but now we only have 30 kids on the bus. Well, we still have to run that bus on that bus route. And so those are the problems with this whole concept. And if you actually focus on the declining enrollment and mitigating that, then there would have to be less conversation, Jordan, on the ADA versus enrollment, because you are mitigating it right there as the per pupil expenditure. Does that make sense?
That's been my argument for years. As we've seen declining enrollment and as the amount of revenue goes up in the state, simple math problem. You have a larger amount of money because you have that straight percentage from Prop 98 that needs to go to education. You're having an increasing amount of money with a smaller divisor.
Right.
So that dividend, the division problem ends up meaning we should be having
more money,
more and more per capita student spending, yet at the same time, there's more and more programs. And it does appear that there is more spending in niches. And that's where I think there's become growing disparity between, like, we are one of the losers in the LCFF funding formula. We're still getting 1-2% more each year, but there are other school districts, other areas where they're receiving year over year greater increases. And there's a greater disparity between the haves and the have-nots based on how that state spending is, and they're also not fully meeting their obligation with Prop 98.
And the other point is that last year he pulled back $1.9 billion and said, in case of revenue risk. And so it is paid back in this budget, but it's not going to the base. It's not going into base funding. It is going to pay back the deferrals from last year. So we're being screwed in terms of growing that base. And if 5.6 is being pulled back, that money, as the LAEA has stated, can go for ongoing money to grow the base. So we will lose again if we lose this fight. If we don't if he's allowed to do this, and by the way, that $5.9 billion doesn't have to be paid back next year. It can be paid back at whatever rate the Department of Finance feels like. And it can go towards mitigating, like if there's deferrals again or whatever, which again, doesn't go to the students and growing the base and increasing the per student cost. So with that money, we are getting, did I say screwed? Sorry, well, too bad. We are being screwed 6 ways into Sunday, so to speak, over and over and over and over and over again with his maneuver that is unconstitutional. So moving on to the federal report. So sorry, we're just moving on because I know it's late. Yeah. I didn't even go there. Okay, so we should see the president's budget in the next week or two. He is going to propose those massive cuts to education. We need to keep advocating because we lucked out this year. Both the House and the Senate agreed upon a proposal where there was small increases, but at least it wasn't cuts. And the interesting thing, though, is that this particular administration is doing something a little bit differently that is good in the Title I area. Mrs. Whiteside isn't here, but the administration is saying we would like to loosen it up a little bit with Title I. We're giving you this money in like these blocks of money, and we want you to rethink the way you spend it, the way you want to spend it. So the whole idea is we want you to be more creative with this. We want you to go for it. What are the creative ways you can use it? We're going to relax these rules a little bit so that you can have some more flexibility and more quote unquote local control. So I asked Kevin Gordon, I'm like, can you give us examples? Because myself and Jamie Steinson, we have lots of creative ideas, but would those fly under what they think is creative Title I? So at the next SANDABS meeting, we're going to get examples of what the Department of Education has actually approved that are considered creative ways of spending Title I. At actual examples that were approved by the Department of Education so that we can say, oh, okay, Kevin Gordon gave an example of something that may be an idea is in order to offset special education. So if you have low income students in special education, that program, that SPED program that they're in, using Title I monies, which normally you can't use, to support that SPED program, that may be one way. So they're going to give examples. The superintendents in the room that were some of the superintendents you were with, the biggest thing that they would like to see some flexibility on is the supplement versus supplant. They want a lot of flexibility on that, and Kevin's going to get some more from the Department of Education on that. In regards to legislative bills, I sent you guys the entire awesome packet. This one, it's almost as big as Jenny's budget of the bills. You can take that and you can read it and pick out some of the ones that you would like to discuss further. And I also gave you the SANDABS position report. I'm not going to read all of them for sake of time, please. I'm not, the ones that I want to highlight, that bill that came back, it has come back, Shannon, in terms of the confidential communication that conversations between an employee and their labor rep would be considered confidential, which would hurt investigations into employee discipline. That bill has come back. Sandbags opposes it strongly. We think that it would hinder your ability to do due diligence in the investigations. The other thing is that the one where
Priest.
what?
No.
Stop. SB 1017, which is foster youth access to pupil records. Homeless students already have the ability to access their records wherever they are, whenever they wish, at a younger age. So this would mimic and allow foster youth the same ability that 14 years of age or younger, they have the ability to access their records just like the homeless students do. Yeah, the confidential employee thing, I didn't think you would like very much. And so those are really the ones to watch. The other one that I brought up before is the mandatory kindergarten bill. I think that's something that we should really have a discussion because I think that every single district would love to see some stability in the ADA. So that's my report. You guys have a lot that you can go through yourselves and pick out. Capital Advisors kind of groups these bills in groupings, so have at it and have fun.
It's,
Sake of time, Jordan, I tried really hard. I did 3 minutes.
I'll quick add on there, yeah, that's a 78-page document from Capital Advisors that contains summaries of each bills. It's over 330 bills, education bills that were introduced. I've seen about 20 or so that might be of interest to us so far. So I'll be sure to bring those back for us. I mentioned a lot of them last 2 weeks ago, but another one that might be interesting is just SB 959. That one expands who can declare a major safety hazard or emergency to trigger ADA protections. Right now, that's a law enforcement agency that can do that. This bill would expand it to local fire agencies too. Which might be pretty impactful for us.
So I'm gonna give you a homework assignment, Jordan, because sometimes I don't take extensive notes. Could you type up something like that with there you go, and just put it in the board docs so that we have that and we can reference that.
Sounds good.
And then what we'll do is maybe we'll discuss on future agenda items where to pick bills that we want to put an actual position. I would say, let's not have a massive spread. Let's consolidate where our efforts are. Okay.
I agree.
All right, so moving on. 11.0, discussion action items. 11.1, superintendent, first reading of proposed model board policy 0441, artificial intelligence, fiscal impact none. I need a motion.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Jordan, discussion. Any discussion? Awesome. Calling for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 11.2, personnel services, adoption of resolution number 25/26-12, reduction of particular kinds of certificated services, fiscal impact, yes, estimated savings of $150,000 from the budget source unrestricted general fund / personnel / various accounts. I need a motion. So moved. Jordana, second.
Scott. Sorry.
Discussion? If none, calling for the vote, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 11.3, business services, direction on TBP architecture options and budget, fiscal impact none. Any motion?
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Scott's the second. Discussion. We saw that LEE was the first school based on need. The thing that I guess I was concerned about in the discussion, just really quickly, was the electrical. What was pointed out as such high electrical need that, I mean, all schools have to be upgraded, but I guess maybe I'm a little bit sensitive since my shop burned down due to bad electrical work by the building manager, not by me. And so, you know, it's just, it's highly concerning that we just want to be able to address that. Not to say that LAE will burn down, I'm just saying I'm projecting my own insecurities, that's all.
It's upgraded.
Exactly, that's my whole thing, is that I'm concerned. Yeah.
New wire.
Shut up, Scott.
We're up to date on our fire extinguishers.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me now. Okay. So any discussion? Yeah, we're in discussion. Do you have anything else, Lovies? We're at LAE as our first school. All right.
Are we looking to set direction here?
Yes. Is this the direction you want to go? That's the motion on the table.
There was an official vote on that agenda item. We could have combined them in hindsight.
Yeah, okay,
But yeah, we
okay.
need to.
So we just want to go with the recommendation.
Yes.
You want to make a motion to accept the recommendation presented?
There we go. LAE was the recommendation. Yes? Bill, you're the first.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't. All right, let's have discussion. Keep having discussion.
No, I'm still doing some extra thinking and I understand their focus. I'm also wondering why we didn't consider doing electrical across the boards, then doing HVAC versus doing one school at a time.
I think it was to do with which schools are eligible for modernization projects, right?
But some of that's changing. So
Well, can I just say, the other part is that when you start opening the walls and you start uncovering, even to upgrade, you trigger ADA issues and DSA. So you might as well, if you're opening up those walls and the ceilings and everything anyways, you should just go ahead and put in the system because it will be less money because you're gonna tear down drywall and all this other stuff, upgrade the electrical, have to put it all back up and then go back to do HVAC and tear down the drywall again. To me, that's more expensive.
There's also the classrooms that you're displacing. And why would you, in my opinion, you would never start a project and not finish it all the way through because then you would also delay them having air conditioning. So now the schools are gonna have to wait. So if you even start in a few schools, then you're gonna delay air conditioning for those schools until you can get that put in place. And it's just gonna be an extra cost all the way across the board.
Hey, Dr. Seviano, he's still waiting.
Yeah, just to reinforce the concept that was delivered tonight about eligibility for modernization. Ensuring that those schools are eligible, ensuring there's going to be, a reimbursement that will help keep the projects going in the future. But understand that there's 3 schools currently eligible or will be eligible soon. We've talked about those 3 schools. So those would be the natural progression of the next projects. And we're just trying to decide which ones to put in order. That's another discussion.
And that's Jenny had said that she was gonna put those 3 schools into our the update that we get. And BOE is not currently one of those schools.
I did find that, although I was going to just put it, in my Friday update, tomorrow. But, BOE's eligibility is in 2030. I mean, just so it doesn't mean, that's why we want to get the ball rolling on all of those, but because it doesn't mean, so we can just we would be using measure. I want to make sure people understand, we don't have to wait to do a project until 2030, okay? But that's when we would be able to get the funding if the state had the money, right? And so we're going to be using Measure E reimbursed by the state when the state has the funds and we apply for it. But we also want to be aware of that cash flow. So, because we're going to want to maximize those eligibility paybacks as soon as possible, so we can be doing other projects.
To make sure I understand is, say that we do one of the, so the LAE is currently qualified for modernization. So if we spend somewhere in the vicinity of $13 to $15 million, that will automatically be eligible if matching opportunities come up at the state level. If we were to do another school that didn't have that, like CHE, then we would have to wait at least another decade. Or not decade, we'd have to wait until after 2030 hit in order to be able to get
Reimbursed.
to be able to get the, to be able to then work on, okay, that's, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, so in 2025, LAE became, and Mountain High became eligible in 2025. In 2027, Rip High will be added. I will give you this tomorrow. And then in 2030, Hoffman, BOE, and Rim High again. Okay, Rim High has a lot of eligibility because of the grade levels and the different phases of modernization. And MPH in 2032. So, you know, we're going to be kind of a continuous wanting to get those plans in for when the state sells a bond, we can be first on the funded list. And it's real similar for those of you who have been here on how the mod 3 at Rim High worked, where we were really using you know, that we put that the money that was generated for mod 3 was from a mod 2 matching that we received. We were just waiting for the money. And then we were able to do that and finish the project.
So
The
What's-
question that actually
Oh,
the
sorry.
question I was actually asking was, service panels are not all throughout every classroom. Service panels are at central locations, just like the generators are at a central location. And would there be value in purchasing the generator? If we had to do, as an example, generators for each school, would there be value in purchasing all those generators at the same time, getting a better price for all of them? Versus doing it one school at a time.
I probably need to defer to Jim for a little bit of that.
Same thing with service panels.
It-
Service panels are gonna have a location. You're not gonna tear up the whole school in order to do a service panel.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we really need some feedback on that, but really, it also that codes change over time. And so you have to make sure that you're in line with the current codes for that project. So something to consider, but we get feedback on that.
Agreed. And another reason to get the service panels changed,
Correct.
right? Well, you're under code and then they're acceptable. So it's just wondering if we considered that kind of an option.
I think we need to get more feedback from our experts.
So what's on the table is to go with the recommendation that was presented.
And it's still the motion.
So your motion stand, we're following the recommendation presented to the school. Scott, that is your understanding too. So that's what we're voting on.
Clarification on that, does it include the optional things?
No, we are only doing the work, no options. We will revisit the options later. After every school gets what they need.
And that's the way I understood it.
Yes.
Absolutely, and this is just starting the ball rolling. It's not like construction's gonna be starting next week or anything like that.
You need to amend our motion to specify that because this just says direction.
Bill, can you just specify for me for the record, please?
Which would you want me to specify?
I want you to say that we are going to approve the recommendation of LAE.
I move that we approve the recommendation of LAE without the additions.
You are such a stellar board member. Scott,
Scott, second.
thank you. All right, any further discussion? If none, calling for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries as amended. 12.0 consent calendar. Items to be pulled, anything? Anything that needs to be pulled? I'm giving 4 seconds.
Move on.
Okay, we're moving on. So here we go. With that, we have 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, 12.10, 12.11, 12.12, 12.13, 12.14. I need a motion.
So moved.
Bill's the first,
Second.
Scott's the second, discussion. If not, calling for the vote, all in
Aye.
favor, aye.
Scott,
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We do not have to go to 13.0. Nothing being pulled. 14.0, governance team future agendas planning. 14.1, time allotted for the board of trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. What I suggest is maybe for the workshop is that we put in there, bill choosing pieces of legislation that we actively wish to support, including putting together an advocacy letter towards. So look at your board docs, look at Jordan's, and let's put that on the workshop agenda so that we have time to be able to do that. Okay? Anything else? Okay, moving on to 15.0, future meeting dates, board meeting workshop, March 26, 2026, 4 p.m. 24740 San Moritz Way, Crestline, California, 2325. Regular board meeting, April 16th, 2026, 4 p.m. is closed session, 5:30 p.m. is open session. 24740 San Moritz Way, Crestline, California, 92325. 16.0 recess to closed session if necessary. We do